Chapter 692. Teacher. Xiang Ziyue had a complex expression. Master Rome smiled. What? Did you think that teacher would conceal this matter and keep the reward from the sect? No, this disciple wouldn't dare. Teacher has received the sect's offerings, so I will do my best. You should have already realized how important this ash threadgrass is to the dark star-eyed serpent. Master Rome's tone was solemn. You are the disciple I value the most. In the future, you must remember that there are things in this world that you cannot do. Even if you face greater temptations, you must uphold the integrity and bottom line of a beast trainer. Xiang Ziyue had an excited expression. She respectfully bowed. Teacher, you will always be my role model. You will always illuminate the road ahead for me. She took several steps back and hurried away. The high-level figures of the Hidden Fog sect were shaken. They summoned several beast trainer grandmasters to verify the data Xiang Ziyue provided and the effects of the ash threadgrass. Their eyes filled with excitement. According to the conclusion of the several beast trainer grandmasters, this ash threadgrass contained a strange strength that could stimulate the dark star ice serpent's bloodline. Once it accumulated enough strength, it could naturally make a breakthrough. This time, the reason that the dark star ice serpent seemed dispirited after its advancement was because it had accumulated insufficient strength. It had used up its flesh and blood essence energy to make a breakthrough. In theory, as long as it obtained enough of the same ash threadgrass, the dark star ice serpent's future advancements would be smooth. Even if it developed resistance towards medicinal properties and the effects decreased, that would only happen after 2 or even 3 more advancements. The high-level figures of the Hidden Fog sect could already see themselves surpassing their ancestors and raising the strongest guardian spirit beast of the sect. If they could smoothly accomplish this, then with the dark star ice serpent's protection, the Hidden Fog sect's tens of thousands of years of foundation would be preserved. This was the greatest event that allowed the inheritance of the sect to continue its teachings. The various factions within the Hidden Fog sect had reached an unprecedented unity. Hurry! Find the source of this ash threadgrass. This matter concerns the tens of thousands of years of our sect's foundation. This matter must be kept secret and not known by outsiders. No matter the price, we must ask that Grandmaster to help us and provide a batch of precious ash threadgrass to our Hidden Fog sect. Thanks to the foresight of the sect's ancestors, they had detailed records of materials used by high-level spirit beasts. They soon locked onto its source, Upper Prime Mountain Range, Descendant City. The Greenwood Hall was a shop that Jinmu had stationed in Kuan City. It mainly sold all kinds of precious spiritual items cultivated by the Jinmu sect. At the same time, it also had the function of gathering information. The original shopkeeper of this place was an early divine soul realm cultivator. After waiting for nearly 100 years, a replacement finally arrived. He didn't even have time to pack up his things before he happily departed on the same day. For the cultivators of the True Wood faction, cultivating in the outside world was not as comfortable as cultivating in their own sect. With the sect's grand array gathering the world's verdant wood aura, it was enough to increase their cultivation speed by several folds. The new shopkeeper was a young cultivator. It was said that he was a disciple of the very powerful Elder Yuqing. But not long ago, after a storm, Elder Yuqing lost a great deal of face and became the laughingstock of the sect. The sect master's faction took advantage of this opportunity to expel him and take away a lot of his power. This new shopkeeper was clearly one of the sacrifices. Otherwise, how could an elder's disciple with extraordinary potential be sent to such a place that was akin to being exiled? Sensing the cold and gloomy aura of the new innkeeper in the inner hall, the subordinates sensibly stayed far away from him. They greeted their customers separately, afraid that they would be blamed if they were not careful. But when would such days come to an end? As everyone was groaning inwardly, the light at the entrance flickered and 3 figures walked in. At the front was a thin old man. Behind him was a middle-aged man with a scholarly aura and a tall and sturdy red-skinned man with his eyes closed. What do the 3 of you need? A verdant wood sect cultivator hurried forwards. This was an immortal shop, and there was an enchantment placed outside. Only cultivators could enter. The thin old man's voice was hoarse. About 2 months ago, you sold a mutated ash threadgrass here. The buyer was Pengcheng's cheesy chamber of commerce. I'm the final user of this ash threadgrass, and there are some matters I need to inquire of you. The verdant wood sect cultivator's complexion changed. He still remembered this matter. After all, the reason Zhou Li was able to enter the True Wood faction was because of this ash threadgrass. Afterwards, it had caused a storm and left a deep impression on him. Now, someone had come knocking on his door? Was there something wrong with that ash threadgrass? This was truly a great problem. Cough. 3 guests. Please wait a moment. This matter is not something I can handle. Please allow me to ask the shopkeeper to come out. The thin old man nodded. The manservant hurried into the hall. A few breaths later, with an angry snort, the new shopkeeper walked out with a sullen expression. 3 guests. So much time has passed. No one knows if there were any accidents during the delivery process. Are you going to cause trouble for my True Wood sect just because of a mere ash threadgrass? Several guests in the hall turned their heads and looked at him with puzzled eyes. The mutated ash threadgrass was extremely precious to ordinary mortals, but to cultivators, it was just a relatively rare spirit herb. Even if it had some value, it was not worth it. Furthermore, this shop was opened by the True Wood sect. It was not a wise decision to become enemies with them over a spirit herb. Several True Wood sect disciples widened their eyes. They did not expect the new shopkeeper to be such an idiot. If he could not say such words out loud, wouldn't he be giving himself away? He was confessing without being pressed. The thin old man furrowed his eyebrows, and a cold light appeared in his eyes. I have no intention of causing trouble. You only need to tell me the source of this ash threadgrass. The new shopkeeper sneered. Since there is no problem with the ash threadgrass sold in this shop, I have nothing else to say. If there is nothing else, please leave. How insolent! The thin old man lifted his hand and grasped it. A terrifying strength gushed out from the void. Before anyone could clearly see his movements, the new shopkeeper had already been grabbed by the throat. Old Wei, please calm your anger, the white-faced, middle-aged man hurriedly said. Old Wei's eyes flashed with a scarlet-red light. His tone was icy cold, every word filled with a ruthlessness that left one despairing. Answer my questions honestly. This is your last chance. The new shopkeeper loosened his grip. He gasped for breath, his face deathly pale. This person dared to kill me. He actually dared to kill me. When a manservant reported, the new shopkeeper was sure that this was his chance for revenge. The reason why he had fallen to such a state was all because of Zhou Li, and these people had come for her. His thoughts raced. He decided to deliberately provoke these people so that they wouldn't hesitate to pursue the matter because of Zhou Li's current status. But he never imagined that he would nearly lose his life because of this. The new shopkeeper didn't doubt that if it weren't for the middle-aged man speaking up just now, he would already be dead. Just where did these people come from? They acted so overbearingly and didn't place the True Wood sect in their eyes at all. But there was one thing he was sure of. They absolutely had extraordinary backgrounds and didn't fear Sky declaring pavilion. Zhou Li, you caused me to fall to such a state. This is your retribution. Senior, please calm your anger. I will immediately go check the files. Hurry, hurry, what are you waiting for? A moment later, Old Wei obtained all the information. He turned and left with the other 2. Sky declaring pavilion. He frowned, a dignified expression on his face. Grandmaster Rong, what do you think about this matter? The white-faced and scholarly man was one of the Hidden Fog Sect's beast trainer grandmasters, Rong Wei. He thought for a moment and said, it should just be a coincidence. If Sky declaring pavilion really knew that this female cultivator named Zhou Li might know a grandmaster-level existence that cultivates spiritual objects, they would never have allowed her to become Fengcheng's maid. Rong Wei's eyes flashed. He continued to say, moreover, that True Wood sect cultivator just now should have deliberately provoked Old Wei in order to use you to continue investigating the matter of the ashline grass. There must be some sort of grudge between this person and Zhou Li. If Zhou Li's relationship with that Grandmaster is exposed, this person absolutely wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Old Wei revealed a faint smile. Grandmaster Rong's words coincide with mine. But as for the specifics, I will need to verify them. Because the recent events that occurred in the Truewood sect had taken place during the Great Sect meeting, it was impossible to keep it a secret. It had already spread far and wide. It didn't take too much time for the Hidden Fog Sect's group of 3 to determine that no one had discovered the relationship between Zhou Li and that mysterious Grandmaster. Sky Declaring Pavilion is tyrannically strong. Although my Hidden Fog Sect doesn't fear them, it isn't good for us to casually offend them. It would be best if we could think of a way to have them hand Zhou Li over to us on their own initiative. Old Wei muttered to himself. Then his eyes brightened. I've got it. Rong Wei frowned. Old Wei wants to use the ash-line grass as an excuse. Old Wei knew that Qin Yu was a righteous person. He smiled and explained, it's just a stopgap measure. As long as Zhou Li reveals information about that Grandmaster, not only will I not make things difficult for her, but I will even reward her handsomely. Rong Wei thought for a moment and slowly nodded. For now, that's all I can do. Beckoning Moon Court. Qin Yu was carefully reading through the detailed information on beast trainers in order to have a good grasp of the situation so that he wouldn't be exposed. The spiritual objects needed to raise monster beasts weren't difficult for him. The little blue lamp had always been successful in every endeavor. The only difficulty was how to make a spirit beast recognize him as a beast trainer. It had to be known that an official beast trainer had to have a formidable affinity and be able to obtain the monster beast's approval. Otherwise, it would be impossible to collect all sorts of detailed data on it. He laid down the book and rubbed his temples. This is the best choice. Although it isn't perfect, I can only take it one step at a time. In the worst-case scenario, even if he couldn't obtain the monster beast approval, as long as he could raise high-quality spiritual objects, Sky Declaring Pavilion would tacitly allow him to stay. Feng Qing withdrew her divine sense from the jade slip. She frowned, a dignified expression on her face. Standing at the side, Zhou Li was surprised. During this period of time, she had been at the young Miss's side. She had never seen her with such an expression. Miss, is there something wrong? Feng Qing took a deep breath, her complexion relaxing a little. It's just an accident, it's fine. She thought for a moment and then stood up. I will go and deal with it. You stay here and cultivate. Yes, miss. As she left, there were already Sky Declaring Pavilion cultivators waiting outside. They looked behind Feng Qing and respectfully said, Miss, are you prepared to protect her? The Hidden Fog Sect was tyrannically strong, and there were countless masters in their ranks. They weren't a force to be trifled with. Feng Qing said, Don't make this matter public for the time being. I will handle it appropriately. Yes. The person turned and left, a puzzled expression on his face. Although the young miss had a good heart, after all these years of experience, she was able to control her emotions. So, why was she treating Zhou Li differently? Feng Qing certainly wouldn't tell him that there was someone standing behind Zhou Li, someone she didn't even know was a divine realm expert. Even if she had to tear apart all pretense of cordiality with the Hidden Fog Sect, she would never hand over Zhou Li. Moreover, she faintly guessed that the ash-line grass that Zhou Li had used to change her destiny should have been Qin Yu's handiwork. If it really was Qin Yu's creation, how could there have been a problem? Or could it be that the Hidden Fog Sect had discovered that there was something different about the ash-line grass? This was simply an excuse for them to approach Qin Yu. Feng Qing certainly didn't want others to discover Qin Yu's existence. But this matter involved Zhou Li, so she didn't dare to make a decision on her own. Her thoughts raced. Feng Qing summoned a cultivator and had him look up the beast trainer recruitment procedures. Soon, she found Ning Qin's registration information. He was currently in Mid-Morning City. Feng Qing didn't dare to contact him through Sky Declaring Pavilion's intelligence network in order to avoid ruining her plans. She quickly wrote a letter and placed it in a bamboo tube. She tied it to the leg of a small blackbird and whispered some words into its ear. Then, she let go and the small blackbird shot into the air like an arrow, vanishing from sight in the blink of an eye. This small black bird didn't seem remarkable, but it possessed the bloodline of an ancient monster beast. It was skilled at hiding its tracks, and its speed was even more astonishing. It only needed a day to cross mountains and rivers to reach Mid-Morning City. As for what to do, that will be up to you to decide. Sky Declaring Pavilion's reply was that they needed to consider it, and that the Hidden Fog sect should wait for a moment. Old Way's complexion sank. He sneered. These past years, Sky Declaring Pavilion has become increasingly domineering. Even for such a minor matter, they want to throw away my Hidden Fog sect's face. I want to see just what they want to do. This matter concerned the Dark Star Ice Serpent's future advancement, so the sect attached great importance to it. They couldn't allow any mistakes to occur. As long as they could ultimately achieve their goal, even falling out with Sky Declaring Pavilion was worth it. Old Way suspects that Sky Declaring Pavilion has already sensed something. Roan Way furrowed his eyebrows. I don't think so, otherwise Sky Declaring Pavilion's reply would be much more reliable. Old Way's expression relaxed. Grandmaster Roan, what do you mean? Roan Way said, I actually think that this is a good thing. It is impossible for Sky Declaring Pavilion to make us wait for a maid, unless the authority to deal with this maid isn't in their hands. Old Way, we might as well wait patiently. Perhaps we will soon have an unexpected harvest. Chinyu looked at the small black bird outside the window. The bamboo tube that held the letter on its leg was particularly eye-catching. At this time, the only one who had the ability to communicate with him like this should be Feng Qing. Could there be a change in the situation? He took the small bird in his hand and took off the bamboo tube. He quickly looked over the contents and subconsciously frowned. The ash threadgrass for Jolie? This was indeed unexpected. So much time had passed, yet it was still noticed. Was it because after the little blue lamp shined on the ash threadgrass, something unusual had happened? This was the only possibility that could explain the current situation. This caused Qin Yu to be secretly vigilant. The beast trainers of this world seemed to have some sort of keen sense that they could actually sense this. If someone discovered the secret of the little blue lamp, because of this, then that would be a big joke. He warned himself that he had to be more cautious in the future. Then, he had to consider what he should do next. The Hidden Fog sect clearly wanted Sky Declaring Pavilion to hand over Jolie. If he didn't appear, then the Hidden Fog sect likely wouldn't give up. But if they made excessive demands, what should he do? After a long time, Qin Yu let out a light breath, a firm expression on his face. Since it was because of him that something had happened, he naturally couldn't stay out of it. Now that he had restored a portion of his strength and had the help of the ant colony, even if there was a problem, he might be able to protect himself. Now he had to see just what the Hidden Fog sect wanted. She put down Qin Yu's letter. Sure enough, the ash threadgrass was something that was produced by your hands. Then, it was clear that the Hidden Fog sect's so-called criticism of the ash threadgrass was just an excuse. Her eyes flashed, and a trace of envy appeared on Feng Qing's face. It seemed that Zhou Li's status in your heart was even higher than she expected. In this situation, he didn't hesitate to risk being discovered and agree to contact the Hidden Fog sect. Or, even if you couldn't use your divine sense, you still had a way to protect yourself and wouldn't place yourself in a truly dangerous situation. Feng Qing didn't dare to underestimate the strength and mysteriousness of a divine realm existence. She shook her head and suppressed these thoughts. Since he had already made his decision, she would do as he said. She picked up a jade slip and wrote an official reply, ordering her subordinates to send it out. Mid-Morning City. Old Way stood up. Let's go now. That mysterious Grandmaster had actually shown himself. Roan Wei's face was also filled with excitement. This was because the strange energy contained within the ash thread grass allowed him to see a brand new and vast world. Behind the two of them, the red-skinned big fellow who had his eyes closed suddenly lay down on the ground. With a deep roar, a monstrous light flashed, and a 70 to 80-foot long tiger appeared on the ground. A pair of wings spread out from its back, and it was hundreds of feet long. Old Way and Roan Way flew onto the tiger's back and sat down. The tiger flapped its wings and howled into the skies. In a short half a day, the two of them arrived outside Mid-Morning City. The tiger landed on the ground and turned back into a big fellow. The three of them quickly entered the city. And today just happened to be the day that Sky Declaring Pavilion would be hiring beast trainers. When Old Wei learned from Feng Qing that the mysterious Grandmaster was present at the final hearing, his complexion immediately darkened. This was completely different from his original plans. A Grandmaster that could cultivate such precious ash threadgrass should certainly be brought back to the Hidden Fog sect. Otherwise, how could they be willing? Miss Feng Qing, why didn't you tell us about this ahead of time? Feng Qing had an innocent expression. Old Mr. Wei, Grandmaster Ning Qin, signed up a long time ago to participate in this hiring event. Today is only a coincidence. Her eyes flashed. I wonder, why are you so anxious to see Grandmaster Ning Qin? What is it for? Old Wei's face stiffened. Roan Wei smiled. The ash thread grass that Grandmaster Ning Qin cultivated is extremely outstanding, so he must be a true Grandmaster level character. The Hidden Fog sect has always been thirsty for talent, so I naturally wanted to make contact with him after discovering him. But I never thought that Miss Feng Qing would be one step ahead of me. What a pity. I wonder if Miss Feng Qing can arrange for us to meet with Grandmaster Ning Qin as soon as possible after the final hearing ends. I hope that I can have an exchange with Grandmaster Ning Qin in the area of beast raising. Feng Qing smiled. Of course, Grandmaster Ning Qin has already agreed to come see you too after the final hearing ends. Hashtag, 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 hashtag. Chapter 693. Mid-Morning City, Sky Declaring Pavilion Branch. The final beast trainer recruitment examination had already begun. Looking at the silver-white door that was tightly shut, groups of youths spread out, their faces filled with envy. Those that could enter the final examination were all outstanding beast trainers. Although they all had talent in this aspect, it was unknown just how much time they had to spend in order to reach this step. Perhaps they might never be able to reach this step in their entire lives. Therefore, it was very important to find a good teacher. This was also the greatest hope that they had harbored in their hearts after racking their brains to come here. I heard that our Mid-Morning City branch division has received a high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster. If you can be chosen by this person, becoming an official beast trainer is just around the corner. In a small team, the young man who spoke had a head of rare long gray hair. It lay softly on his forehead and had a look of longing on his face. Advanced Silver Moon, this was a legendary creature that they had never seen before. The petite female cultivator next to him sneered, "Stop daydreaming. The final trial has already begun, and I heard that the Grandmaster hasn't arrived yet. I'm afraid that he has already been identified in secret and won't go through the ordinary procedures." Although she was mocking him, a trace of disappointment flashed in her eyes. If she could really become an unnamed disciple of a master, it would be a chance to change her fate, but it was a pity. A slightly hoarse voice came into everyone's ears, calm but firm. The status of an advanced master of the Silver Moon is very noble. It's normal for him to arrive late. Even if we really miss the opportunity, as long as we work hard enough, we can still achieve something. Under her light purple bangs, her long eyelashes fluttered, adding a touch of gentleness to her coquettish face. The young female cultivator's mocking expression changed. She respectfully bowed. Big Sister Yundai is right. Several young cultivators nodded in agreement. It was clear that she had a high status in this small group. At this moment, a creaking sound rang out. Everyone was trying their best to keep their voices down, but the sound was exceptionally clear. The other end of the passageway was opened, and apart from a pair of eyes, a young man with an ordinary appearance and clothes walked in. When he saw the scene before him, he frowned and seemed a little surprised. And at this moment, there were also many people who were looking at him with a frown. Everyone knew what day it was. Perhaps it could change their lives in the future. One more person meant one more variable, further diluting the already frighteningly low probability. More importantly, everyone had received the notice and had been waiting here for a long time. How could this person join in midway? They couldn't help but wonder if this kid had gone through the back door, or if he had some connections. Thus, the gazes that gathered on him were filled with coldness, envy, and disdain, jealousy. Chinyu frowned. He thought that if Sky Declaring Pavilion's final trial were to be presided over by these youths, it would be far too childish. After thinking for a moment, he stepped forwards. "Excuse me, is this the final trial of the beast trainers?" There was a sneer. "Of course. Otherwise, why would we come here so early in the morning?" The one who spoke was a slightly fat cultivator. His small eyes stared at Chinyu with ill intent. But at this moment, he could feel the gazes of many beautiful sisters landing on him. Little Fatty was even more spirited now. Damn it, had he reached the peak of his life? "I've never had the honor of being noticed by so many beautiful ladies." Chinyu said, "You came to participate in the final trial?" There was a hint of hesitation in his voice, but as it fell into the ears of everyone present, it was simply ridicule. "Bastard! Even if you have a background and connections, you still dare to be so arrogant? Of those that could come here today, who didn't have some skill, be careful that you don't end up with a bloody face. Let alone participating in the final trial of the beast trainers right now. Even if they could do this 30 years from now, they would still be grinning from ear to ear." Thinking of this, they found Chinyu even more displeasing to the eye. "This little brat, it's like you are participating in the final trial. Why don't you stay here with us and pray that you'll be chosen by some beast trainer after the final trial?" After an awkward silence, the little fatty grinned. He really felt embarrassed. This isn't the final trial. It is behind this door. Yandai didn't know why she was explaining this. She met Chinyu's puzzled gaze and continued to say, "This isn't the entrance. The Lord Beast trainers will enter from the front door." So she had gone the wrong way. Chinyu glanced at her and smiled. "Thank you for the reminder." He turned and walked back. He pulled open the door and vanished from everyone's sight. This was beyond everyone's expectations. Many people's eyes widened. The little fatty's lips twitched. Is this fellow retarded? There was a burst of light laughter before it was immediately tossed to the back of everyone's minds. In such a tense moment, no one wanted to be distracted by this strange brat. Yundai could sense the confusion in her companion's eyes. She lowered her head, covering her beautiful eyes. This was because there really wasn't anything she could explain about this matter. Just as Chinyu pushed open the door, he saw two Sky Declaring Pavilion cultivators running towards him, sweating profusely. As they saw him, their eyes brightened and they repeatedly apologized. "Grandmaster Ning Qin, we are truly sorry. We didn't make proper preparations and wasted your precious time. I ask for Grandmaster's forgiveness." The middle-aged man beside them fell to his knees, his face pale and sweat streaming down his face. The final trial had already begun. This person had arrived a bit late to begin with. If he was delayed and something happened, would he still be able to live? "It's fine. I was the one who went the wrong way. Lead the way." "Thank you, Grandmaster. Thank you, Grandmaster." After passing through an arched door, a spacious courtyard appeared in front of them. This was the final trial location. The three beast trainers revealed looks of impatience. If someone was responsible for presiding over the final trial, they definitely had some skill. After being left hanging here for such a long time, their mood could be imagined. If it weren't for the fact that they were high-level Silver Moon Masters, they would have already stormed off in a huff. Even now, they were only suppressing their anger. Hearing the sound of footsteps, the three beast trainers sucked in a deep breath and squeezed out a smile. Before determining the depths of this Grandmaster Ning Qin, it would be best if they didn't offend him. But as they saw Chinyu standing behind the two Sky Declaring Pavilion cultivators, their faces stiffened. Although there were indeed geniuses in this world that could accomplish things that ordinary people couldn't, for them to believe that this boy in front of them was a high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster was simply a joke. Just how had the preliminary trial been conducted? They had actually allowed a young junior to take advantage of a loophole. It was fine if he was tired of living and wanted to seek death, but he actually wanted to waste their time. In particular, of the three beast trainers, the younger one had a pale complexion. When he learned that a high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster had come to apply, He had spent a great deal of effort to obtain the qualifications for today's final trial. He wanted to establish a good relationship with the Grandmaster ahead of time so that he could ask for guidance in the future. If looks could kill, Qin, you would have been riddled with holes by now. Mr. Su, Mr. Zhou, Mr. Sun, Grandmaster Ning Qin has arrived. Sensing that the atmosphere wasn't right, the two of them quickly drew back to the side. Sun Xiangzhong took a deep breath. You're Ning Qin? Good, very good. As he thought about the price he had paid in order to obtain today's position, as well as the ridicule he would inevitably receive from everyone, his complexion paled even further. Today's final trial topic is to use the materials prepared by Sky Declaring Pavilion to restore a sick skylark to health in 4 hours. With a flick of his sleeves, the ground rumbled and cracked open, revealing stone steps leading underground. The skylark is here, but the final trial has already begun an hour ago. In other words, you only have 3 hours to complete it. Begin. Su and Zhou sat down. They shook their heads and closed their eyes to rest. Today's topic wasn't easy to begin with. Only someone with the strength of a high-level silver moon would be able to cure a skylark in 4 hours. Now, the time had been reduced by an hour, and it was also this unreliable boy. Today's matter had to be reported to the pavilion, and they would be given the compensation they deserved. It had to be known that a beast trainer's time was extremely precious. Qin, you didn't care about the attitudes of the 3 final trial examiners. Since he came here, he had already expected this. He nodded to indicate that he understood the topic. Then he walked up the stone steps. There was a loud rumbling above his head, but it wasn't dark in front of him. The beads embedded into the stone walls emitted a warm and bright light. Chapter 694. Mr. Zhou suddenly opened his eyes. The baby in the skylark's egg is no longer safe, and its bloodthirsty nature has erupted. Will there be an accident if this boy enters? Before figuring out his identity, if something were to happen to him, it was likely to attract unnecessary trouble. Mr. Su lightly said, "Don't worry. Before the examination began, I inspected the skylark's condition. Its inner core has been damaged, and it won't wake up for some time. That's good. This junior will find it hard to escape punishment, as long as nothing happens to him in our hands." Mr. Zhou faintly smiled. Sun Xiangzhong suddenly said, "Two sirs, if there's an accident in the skylark's egg, is its inner core damaged and not sick?" His face paled. Mr. Su paused for a moment, a trace of annoyance in his eyes. He said, "Xiangzhong, I know that you were the one who took care of this skylark before it gave birth, but this has nothing to do with you. When the skylark laid the egg, its bloodline changed, causing the egg to be damaged. If it was just a simple illness, how could it become the topic of the examination for a high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster?" Mr. Zhou glared at his old friend and continued to console him. "Indeed, we concealed it from you because we didn't want you to think too much about it." Sun Xiangzhong was absent-minded. After a long time, he squeezed out a bitter smile. "I understand. Thank you for your consolation." The reason he had passed the initial Silver Moon examination was because he had stimulated the thin bloodline of a low-level stone sparrow, allowing it to smoothly transform into a skylark. Thus, this skylark held an extraordinary significance to him. Now that its fetus was in danger and its inner core was damaged, did this really have nothing to do with him? If he had been more careful and cautious when he took care of it, he might have been able to discover ahead of time that the skylark's bloodline was about to mutate. Looking at Sun Xiangzhong's pale face, Mr. Zhou and Mr. Sun glanced at each other and sighed at the same time. The entire hall fell silent. The moment the skylark opened its eyes that were overflowing with magma, it cried out and spread out its wings. Every feather flowed with flames, and a terrifying aura erupted. The surrounding temperature rose at an astonishing speed. Runes of array formations lit up on the walls and floor of the basement, releasing a powerful sealing aura that isolated the inside from the outside. This was a condition that had to be met in order to place a high-level spirit beast. Otherwise, if an accident were to occur, for instance, this mutated skylark in front of them, The destructive strength it released was enough to turn the majority of Sky Declaring Pavilion into a pool of lava. The Skylark's blood red eyes locked on Chinyu. Its wild and savage will didn't allow the Skylark to hesitate at all. It flapped its wings and flames erupted. Its long beak that seemed like fire crystals shot straight toward Chinyu's head. Chinyu narrowed his eyes, thinking that pretending to be a high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster really wasn't easy. If his strength was a bit weaker, he feared that in the next moment he would have been roasted and swallowed by the Skylark. Fortunately, his physical strength had recovered a bit, and he was able to deal with this Skylark. Chinyu took a deep breath and stepped forwards. He shouted out loud and clenched his fists. His heart wildly beat, and billowing blood energy erupted. Pitter-patter, with the crackling of his bones. Chinyu's eyes became increasingly deep. The aura of endless years filled his eyes, as if he were filled with endless vicissitudes of time. Strength erupted and the ground groaned in pain. Then, cracks began to appear. Just as Chinyu was about to strike out with his full strength, he saw the cruel and bloodshot Skylark suddenly cry out in pain. Its aura rapidly dissipated and it slumped to the ground, shivering. Chinyu furrowed his eyebrows. His first thought was that this Skylark was so smart that it knew how to play tricks. But he soon overturned this thought. The Skylark shivering on the ground was indeed expressing its fear and submission to him. Was it because of the ancient race bloodline? Besides that, there was no other explanation. Now wasn't the time to think about this. It was naturally best if this Skylark admitted defeat. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to waste his efforts. The reason I came here is to save you. If you understand, then nod. The flames around the Skylark restrained themselves, and its eyes became clear once more. It kowtowed again and again to show that it understood. Very good. Chinyu's thoughts stirred. He looked at the experimental platform, not too far away. Luckily, he had protected it when the array formation lit up. Otherwise, the materials on it would have been destroyed by the high temperatures just now. He lifted a hand and pointed. You should be the clearest about your situation. Go take a look at the experimental platform and see if there is anything you need. Seeing the Skylark try several times to stand up, Chinyu hesitated for a moment before withdrawing his blood energy fluctuations. The Skylark struggled to stand up, but its eyes were still filled with awe as it looked at Chinyu. Arriving in front of the experimental platform, the Skylark's eyes brightened. Its long beak was separated by the array formation's barrier of light, and it pointed at several different materials. Chinyu fumbled around for a moment before grasping the switch of the array formation. He took out the materials that the Skylark had chosen. There was a white fruit, 7 or 8 purple petals, and a common-looking grass. Can I cure you with just these? The question shouldn't be so simple. And sure enough, the Skylark shook its head. It flapped its wings as if it wanted to express something. Chinyu looked at it for a long time and rubbed his chin. You want to say that these things are useful to you, but not enough to cure you. The Skylark nodded. Chinyu smiled. If this was the case, then it shouldn't be too much of a problem. He drew back his smile and expressionlessly looked at the Skylark. His voice was deep and dignified. Now, turn around and face the stone wall. Close your eyes. If I don't tell you to come back, then maintain this posture. Do you understand? The Skylark quickly nodded and walked over. It was so obedient that it was hard to believe. Chinyu looked at it several times and determined that the Skylark wouldn't disobey his orders. As he marveled in his heart, he raised his hand and spread open his fingers. The phantom of a small sun appeared between his fingers. It sprinkled down a deep blue light that covered the fruit, flower petals, and grass. The silence of the final trial was broken by the sound of hurried footsteps. Several cold and stern cultivators strode into the field. Mr. Su furrowed his eyebrows. What happened? The leader bowed. Mr. Su, the central control detected the opening of the underground array formation just now, and the energy fluctuations were extremely fierce. I fear that an accident has occurred. Mr. Su's complexion changed. Impossible. If there really was an accident, then even if there was an array formation isolating the aura, we would still be able to sense it. Mr. Zhou said, "That's right. Everything is normal." Sun Xiangzhang regained his composure. He took a deep breath and said to this person, "Brother Zhai, there really isn't anything wrong." Zhai Shan and Sun Xiangzhang had a close relationship, so he naturally believed in his friend's words. His cold expression relaxed. If there isn't any movement, then it should be a false alarm from the central control. There have been similar situations during this period of time, but we haven't found the cause yet. Wait, Mr. Zhou's expression was dignified. Fellow Taoist Zhai, you should check to see whether or not the underground array formation has been opened. Mr. Su and Sun Xiangzhang's complexions changed. They understood Mr. Zhou's meaning. With that boy's age and cultivation, if there really was something wrong with the Skylark, he could be killed in a single move. They were outside, so they naturally wouldn't be able to sense any movement. Damn it, if someone really died inside, then although they wouldn't have to bear any responsibility, it would still be troublesome. Zhai Shan frowned. He didn't have time to ask about the change in their attitudes. He took out a ring and placed it on the ground. The ring trembled and a pale white light spread out. Zhai Shan let out a breath of relief. Luckily, the array formation hasn't been activated. However, the light from the ring seemed to be brighter than usual. Could the underground array formation really have been opened just now? That shouldn't be the case. If that Skylark had really woken up, it would have already caused a great uproar. How could it be as calm as it was now? Moreover, this was the final examination. If they wanted to test it, they had to consider the attitudes of the beast trainers participating in the examination. Well, since the ring indicated that nothing was wrong, then there was no need to cause trouble. Zhai Shan's thoughts raced through. He cupped his hands together and said, "Since there are no problems, then I won't disturb the final examination any further. Farewell." He turned and led his people away. Mr. Zhou smiled. Zhai Shan's talent is outstanding, and his cultivation has been progressing at a rapid pace these past years. Not long ago, he broke through his bottleneck and smoothly reached the calamity immortal realm. In the future, his great Tao is within reach. He looked at Sun Xiangzhang. Xiangzhang and Zhai Shan's friendship started at a young age. If they can advance together in the future, it will surely become a legend. Mr. Su nodded in agreement. The two of them were both middle silver moon beasts and feared that they would never be able to take another step forwards in their lives. Thus, they held Sun Xiangzhang in high regard. If it weren't for the two of them jointly guaranteeing him, how could a beast trainer who had just entered the Silver Moon realm obtain such a precious position in such an important occasion? Zhai Shan is indeed outstanding. Sun Xiangzhang had no intention of speaking further. His eyes were filled with worry as he looked at the sealed entrance to the basement. After learning of the Skylark's true condition, he began to worry even more. That junior Ningqin shouldn't recklessly try anything and cause its condition to worsen even further. Mr. Su said in a low voice, "Xiangzhang, no matter what the result is today, I do not wish for you to interfere with the Skylark's treatment." "That's right," Mr. Zhou continued. "We know your feelings towards this Skylark, but a damaged inner core is no minor matter. Only a Grandmaster-level character can possibly save it. If you recklessly act and aren't careful, your reputation will be damaged, and that will be detrimental to your future development." Sun Xiangzhang's lips moved. Finally, he nodded with difficulty. "I will listen to you two misters. I will not interfere with the treatment." Within his sleeves, he tightly clenched his fists together. For the first time, he felt disappointment in himself. His entire body was filled with powerlessness. The bitterness of wanting to save the Skylark but being unable to do so constantly gnawed at Sun Xiangzhang's proud heart. An hour and a half passed. Qin Yu silently calculated the world. With a thought, the great sun phantom vanished, and the deep blue light converged to reveal the white fruit, flower petals, and green grass below. Compared to before, they didn't seem to have changed much. But there seemed to be a faint flow of light on their surface. He hoped it was useful. Qin Yu said in a low voice, "All right, come over." The Skylark obediently turned around. When Qin Yu saw it, it cautiously opened its eyes. It silently walked over. Although its body was massive, in front of Qin Yu, it seemed particularly small and insignificant. Eat what you chose. Let's see if it can cure you. The skylark's eyes brightened. Its long beak tapped the ground, directly swallowing the fruit, flower petals, and grass. In the next moment, it let out a cry that seemed both pained and happy. The surface of its feathers uncontrollably ignited with raging flames. The underground array formation lit up once more. But this time, the temperature in the air soon surpassed its limit. Even with the support of the array formation, the ground and walls began to melt. After Zhai Shangyue returned to the control center and confirmed that the alarm had disappeared, he gloomily ordered his subordinates to find the source of the false alarm as soon as possible. Then, he flicked his sleeves and returned to the restroom. Today was his turn to be on duty. An accident could occur at any time, and he wouldn't be able to cultivate. But to someone like Zhai Shangyue, who cherished every moment, he certainly couldn't waste a single day. He took out the body transformation art he was practicing and began to perceive the obscure parts within. This body transformation art was a reward he had obtained from the Tower Master for his outstanding performance. After Zhai Shangyue touched it, it was like he had obtained a supreme treasure. But this body transformation art was extremely difficult to perceive. Besides perseverance and willpower, one also needed sufficient talent to cultivate it. Soon, he immersed himself in it. But just as Zhai Shanyue's mind began to light up and he began to understand some obscure parts, there was a loud ringing in the restroom. Shua! Zhai Shanyue's eyes flashed open, blazing with anger. The inspiration he had grasped with great difficulty had been interrupted like this. Bang! He fiercely pushed open the door and roared out, "You had best give me a satisfactory explanation." The cultivator outside shivered as he endured the roar. He said with a panicked expression, "My lord, the control center has issued a level 1 alert, level 1 alert, level 1 alert. Important things had to be repeated 3 times. But Zhai Shangyue didn't have the time to listen to everything. The first time he heard it, his complexion changed and he rushed out. To hell with his comprehension being interrupted. The control center had issued a level 1 alert, indicating that an array formation had been struck by a strength that surpassed its limits and was on the verge of collapse. Something similar had happened before. At the time, a small portion of sky declaring pavilion had been torn to shreds by a berserk energy. Even though the aftermath had been quickly dealt with and it hadn't caused too much of a commotion, Zhai Shanyu's predecessor, who had once been in the limelight, had been banished to the cold palace ever since. Zhai Shangyue didn't want to follow in the footsteps of his predecessor. His eyes locked onto the area where the warning had been issued, and he rushed out. "Don't let anything happen. Please don't let anything happen. Time's up." Sun Xiangzhong didn't waste even a moment. But before he could open the array, a sudden roar came from the ground. Then, the ground shook incessantly, causing the doors and windows to make kacha sounds and dust to soar into the sky. Mr. Zhou cried out, "This is bad. It's that skylark underground." His complexion paled. The skylark's inner core had been damaged, so it was impossible for it to erupt with such a formidable strength. The only exception was if it had completely gone berserk, disregarding everything else. Just what had that bastard brat done? Sun Xiangzhong clenched his teeth. "If anything happens to the skylark, I won't forgive you." He was about to open the array formation when he was interrupted by Mr. Su. "You cannot open the array formation, otherwise neither you nor I will be able to escape. Everyone here will die." Whoosh! With the sound of breaking air, Zhai Shangyue appeared in midair. He lifted his hand, and 4 rings shot out, occupying the 4 corners of the ground. He shouted, "Suppress!" Each ring erupted with radiant light. Then, they condensed into pillars of light that smashed into the earth. They were like 4 pillars that supported the heavens, carrying with them an irresistible strength that imprisoned all. After completing this, Zhai Shangyue relaxed a little. It was only then that he discovered that his back was drenched in a cold sweat. Luckily, he had arrived a step earlier, otherwise the consequences would have been unimaginable. His eyes flashed like lightning as he looked at Sun Xiangzhong and the others. Zhai Shangyue asked, "What happened?" We can't answer this question. After a second of silence, Sun Xiangzhong roared out. It was Ning Qin. He must have done something that caused the Skylark's strength to go out of control. Damn it. If he had known earlier that the Skylark's inner core was damaged, he would never have allowed that bastard to go in. Strength went out of control? Zhai Shanhua shook. He looked at Mr. Su and Mr. Zhou in horror. The two misters had bitter expressions. It should be like this. Hurry and evacuate everyone nearby. Once the Skylark's inner core explodes, the destructive power isn't something that the array formation can resist. It's over. Even if I came a step faster, I still wouldn't have been able to prevent this tragic end. Zhai Shanhua paled. But at this time, the shaking earth rapidly weakened. In just several breaths of time, everything calmed down, as if everything that had just occurred had been nothing but an illusion. This was the Skylark supposed to lose control of its strength and explode its inner core. Was it going to end like this? Just as Zhai Shanhua thought of this, he lifted his hand, wanting to slap himself in the face. What the hell was he thinking? If he didn't court death, he would suffer. His complexion darkened. He clenched his teeth and flicked his sleeves. The four pillars of light suppressing the ground scattered and the entrance opened. With a clear cry, Sun Xiangzhong's eyes widened. In the next moment, blazing flames flashed in front of him. The Skylark spread its wings and flew out, its massive body covering the courtyard. Even though it had restrained its strength, the air still became hot and dry. The leaves of the bamboo in the corner of the courtyard rapidly withered and fell off. Fire Phoenix! Mr. Zhou cried out in alarm, his face filled with disbelief. Beside him, Mr. Su and Sun Xiangzhong were also dumbfounded. The rock sparrow was an ordinary low-level monster beast, but it had an extremely thin Skylark bloodline within it. In theory, there was a chance that it could transform into a Skylark, and it was loved by many beast trainers. As for the Skylark, the legend said that it was a descendant of the ancient god beast True Phoenix. It was an incomparably powerful, vicious beast that could compare with divine Tao existences. The ancient texts recorded that tens of thousands of years ago, there was indeed a Skylark that activated the True Phoenix bloodline within its body. It was able to control the thunder of the heavens and become one of the most powerful spirit beasts in the world at that time. As for this Skylark in front of him, it had a majestic aura and luxurious feathers. Its entire body was bathed in crimson flames. It was clearly the manifestation of an evolution. Although its aura hadn't risen too much, the transformation of its bloodline meant infinite possibilities. Perhaps in the future, this Skylark, no, it should be said that this Fire Phoenix could become a peerless spirit beast that could control all flames in the world, possessing a portion of the might of a true phoenix. Why would this Skylark suddenly advance? Had it already broken free from the spells laid down by Sky, declaring Pavilion? What if it wanted to escape? No, it absolutely could not be allowed to leave. This Fire Phoenix was the most valuable experimental subject. Perhaps they could find the key to awakening a monster beast's bloodline from it. Mr. Zhou took a deep breath. Just as he was about to order Zhai Shanhua to keep it here, no matter the cost, he saw the Fire Phoenix obediently lie down on the ground. Then, he saw the black-robed youth covered in burning wings. His eyes widened and his mind went blank. Everyone, I should have passed the final trial, right? This voice seemed to ring out from the distant horizon, spreading into everyone's ears and awakening them from their shocked silence. He was the one who had cured the Skylark and helped it smoothly advance. How was this possible? Suddenly, the Skylark cried out and a flame phantom flew out, falling onto the back of Qin Yu's hand where it turned into the phantom of a lifelike Fire Phoenix. A spirit beast has recognized a master. Zhai Shanhua cried out in alarm. Her eyes were filled with shock, as if she had seen something unbelievable. In the next moment, a woman's voice sounded out in his mind. Master, I beg you to save my child. It hasn't been born yet. It shouldn't die like this. When a spirit beast recognized a master, that meant that it would pass all risks to its master. With just a thought, its life or death could be decided. Yu understood that the fire phoenix hadn't recognized him as its master because he had saved it, but because it hoped to use this as a price to beg him to save its child. He hesitated for a moment and then said, "Where is the fire phoenix egg? Perhaps I can give it a try." The fire phoenix reared its head back and cried out. It flapped its wings and soared into the skies. It arrived outside a grand hall and flew straight towards the entrance. A collision didn't appear. Rather, space twisted in front of him and a vast space appeared. There were mountain ranges and long rivers, and there was even a great sun shining overhead. Yu narrowed his eyes. The feeling the sun gave him was actually the same as a true great sun. Was this some sort of supernatural ability? The fire phoenix landed atop a steep mountain peak. Several ancient trees wove together, forming a massive natural bird's nest. The egg was over a meter in diameter and was covered with cloud patterns. It lay peacefully within, but this time, over half of the cloud patterns on the egg were burning red, like burning clouds. The life force fluctuations within were extremely weak, as if they could dissipate at any moment. The fire phoenix cried out in sorrow. As it looked at its child, tears flowed out from its eyes. But before they could flow down, they were evaporated by the high temperature. As if sensing its mother's aura, the egg suddenly trembled. The little fellow inside wanted to come out, but no matter how hard it tried, it couldn't open the egg. Gigi. A small sound sounded like it was crying. "Master, please save it. As long as it can live, I am willing to do anything." The fire phoenix's voice sounded out in his mind. Whoosh, whoosh, there was the sound of breaking air. Besides Zhai Shanyue, Sun Xiangzhang, and the others, there were also several other cultivators with extraordinary bearings. The one leading them cupped his hands together and said, "Grandmaster Ningqin, I am Jiang Yun, the current steward of the Mid-Morning City Branch Division. If Grandmaster can save the Fire Phoenix egg, Sky Declaring Pavilion will surely repay you." Yu said in a low voice, "There isn't enough time. Tell me the specifics." In truth, he really didn't know where to start investigating. Jiang Yun turned around. "Mr. Zhou, I'll have to trouble you to relay my words to the Grandmaster." Zhou Xinhong deeply looked at the young man in front of him. He blushed at his previous actions, and his tone became increasingly respectful. "Grandmaster Ningqin, during the process of the Fire Phoenix laying the egg, a mutation occurred in its bloodline. Its strength eroded into the embryo egg, causing the unborn little skylark to suffer a calamity. If we want to save it, we must resolve the conflict between the two different bloodlines and have them fuse together." He bitterly smiled. This sort of matter is far too rare. Although Sky Declaring Pavilion urgently transferred over a blood-fusing pill, the rank of the pill is too low. It isn't enough to neutralize the two powerful bloodlines. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. If the medicinal efficacy is enough, then the blood-fusing pill can save it? Zhou Xinhong nodded. That is indeed the case. But the blood-fusing pill is incomparably difficult to refine, and only one will be born by chance. Even with the strength of Sky Declaring Pavilion, we were only able to find a single one. If it weren't for this, how could they have given up on this embryo egg? It had to be known that although it had been corroded, it still possessed two different bloodlines. Once it hatched and fused together, its potential would inevitably be astonishing. In particular, now that the Skylark had transformed into the Fire Phoenix, this embryo egg was even more valuable. But saving it wasn't a simple matter. Even though Qin Yu had cured the Fire Phoenix, and even helped it activate its bloodline to complete its advancement, and even though there was no doubt that he was a Grandmaster, no one held much hope in his heart. "Master, I beg you, you must save it." The Fire Phoenix's tears began to evaporate. "Qin Yu, are you sure it's that simple?" This was an unsolvable problem that had stumped the entire Sky Declaring Pavilion. In his opinion, it was far too simple. If the blood-fusing pill wasn't effective enough, then purifying and strengthening it would be enough. Of course, he absolutely wouldn't speak of this matter. He had a dignified expression. As the Fire Phoenix's eyes filled with despair, he slowly nodded and said, bring the blood-fusing pill over. I might have a way to strengthen its effects. Everyone fell silent. Jiang Yun's complexion was cloudy and uncertain. The blood-fusing pill was extremely precious. Even with his status, he didn't dare to casually deal with it. He looked at Qin Yu, wanting to see how deep he was from his expression. But all he saw was indifference. Sun Xiangzhong had an anxious expression. Steward Jiang, we absolutely cannot give up on this fire phoenix embryo. Even if the chances are slim, we still have to try. He took a step forwards. If someone investigates this matter afterwards, Steward can push the blame onto me. I am willing to bear the consequences. Jiang Yun's eyes relaxed. Mr. Sun is too serious. I am duty-bound to save this fire phoenix embryo. Men, hurry and bring the blood-fusing pill. With Sun Xiangzhang's words, if there really was an accident, he could at least say a few words to evade responsibility. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai looked at Sun Xiangzhang with worry in their eyes. Once these words left his mouth, he wouldn't be able to escape this matter cleanly. Qin, you didn't have the time to care about their thoughts. Strengthening the blood-fusing pill requires time. How long can you keep the embryo egg alive? Sun Xiangzhang respectfully said, Grandmaster Ning Qin, I guarantee you that it will be fine for 2 hours. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai sighed inwardly. They stepped forwards at the same time. With us 2 old fellows helping out, we should be able to keep it alive for another hour. An hour was the same amount of time as before. Qin Yu wasn't sure if that was enough. He directly said, then don't delay any further. Give me a quiet place. Jiang Yun said, Grandmaster Ning Qin, please follow me. Sun Xiangzhang quickly walked in front of the embryo egg. He said to the fire phoenix, it was my negligence that led to today's situation. Don't worry, I will do my best. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai revealed helpless expressions. In the current situation, no matter how hard the 3 of them tried, it was useless. They could only look at Grandmaster Ning Qin. Although it was possible to strengthen a finished pill a second time, it was far more difficult than refining a new one. The chances of success were minuscule. Teacher, once the blood-fusing pill is damaged, you will surely be held accountable. Why take such a risk? A sky-declaring pavilion cultivator bitterly smiled. Since this fire phoenix embryo egg had already been sentenced to death, there was no need to complicate matters in order to protect himself. Jiang Yun shook his head. Although I like to play some tricks and embezzle money from public funds, you must firmly remember the principles of your position. I am the person with the highest authority in Mid-Morning City's branch division. I have the duty and obligation to help the pavilion master recover his losses. If I couldn't even do this, I would have been kicked out of my position long ago. He looked towards the chamber. Another reason was that Jiang Yun wanted to give it a try. If he succeeded, that would be a great merit to him. Even if he failed, he would still be able to form a closer relationship with a beast trainer grandmaster. Chapter 695. An hour and a half later, beneath the golden light, the blood-red color rapidly spread across the surface of the fire phoenix egg, dyeing all of the cloud patterns. The bloodline has fused, Sun Xiangzhang whispered. Although he was happy to see this, he still had a blank look on his face. The second strengthening of the blood-fusing pill had been completed. If he hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai's eyes widened. They stared at Qin Yu. If it weren't for the fact that they still had a trace of reason left in them, they really would have thrown themselves at him and hugged his thigh. High Silver Moon Realm, this was absolutely impossible. Grandmaster Ning Qin was likely a peak Great Sun Realm beast trainer existence. Only such a legendary grand character would be able to accomplish such an inconceivable feat. Kacha. A crack appeared on the surface of the fire phoenix egg. A small wet head poked out, looking at Qin Yu and emitting a tender cry. It seemed to know who had saved it. Jiang Yun's face was flushed red, and he walked with the wind. In front of his trusted disciple, he didn't need to hide his inner emotions. Congratulations, teacher. Congratulations, teacher. Feng Jun smiled. He knew that his teacher's days hadn't been too good recently, But with today's merit, all accusations would vanish like smoke in the wind. Jiang Yiyun laughed. I never thought that I would have such an unexpected harvest today. Grandmaster Ning Qin is the person of my life. A beast trainer that was highly suspected to be at the Great Sun Realm had a revered status. If he could obtain his approval, he would be able to sleep in peace in the future. Feng Jun was one with his teacher, so he was naturally excited. The only thing he didn't understand was that Grandmaster Ning Qin was far too low-key. Teacher, why did Grandmaster Ning Qin ask us to keep his matters a secret? Could there be some other reason? Jiang Yiyun waved his hand. With Grandmaster Ning Qin's status, it is enough for Sky Declaring Pavilion to go all out against him. Even if he causes trouble in the future, we won't be blamed. Since it is the Grandmaster's request, we will naturally comply. But you must understand that you must give Grandmaster Ning Qin sufficient respect. There cannot be any accidents. Feng Jun bowed. Teacher, rest assured that I will do my best and not arouse any suspicions. Waving his hand for him to leave, Jiang Yiyun respectfully began to record everything related to Ning Qin. He crushed the jade slip in his hands. Even though he had promised the Grandmaster that he would keep his existence a secret, this didn't include the Master of Sky Declaring Pavilion. As for the others, humph, it wouldn't be long before the Beast Trainer Grand Competition of the Eastern Territory was held. The mid-morning city branch division would surely shock everyone. They obeyed Grandmaster Ning Qin's will and chose to conceal his existence. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai could only watch with envy as Sun Xiangzhang and Zhai Shan led Qin Yu away. Grandmaster, I, Sun Xiangzhang, did not know your identity before and was arrogant enough to offend you. I hope that Grandmaster can be magnanimous and forgive me. Sun Xiangzhang bowed respectfully. Zhai Shan had a worried look on his face. When Grandmaster Ning Qin had chosen Sun Xiangzhang to lead the way for him, he had felt apprehensive. A true Grandmaster-level character was a pivotal figure in Sky Declaring Pavilion. If they wanted to make things difficult for Sun Xiangzhang, then even if he were a Silver Moon-level beast trainer, it would still be difficult for him to proceed. Qin Yu had a calm expression. There is no need to mention the past. Right now, he only wanted to borrow the Grandmaster's identity to recover from his injuries as soon as possible. Naturally, he wouldn't waste time on such a trivial matter. But in the eyes of Sun Xiangzhang and Zhai Shan, this was the demeanor of a Grandmaster. As expected, his heart was as broad as the sea, and not something ordinary people could compare to. The two of them became even more respectful. Grandmaster Ning Qin, after you pass the final trial, you may establish your own laboratory. This will require a certain number of assistants to help you with some miscellaneous matters. According to convention, we have prepared some outstanding youths ahead of time. You may freely choose from them. Sun Xiangzhang paused, an apologetic expression on his face. Because of the matter with the Fire Phoenix egg, I have delayed Grandmaster's precious time. Thus, the other beast trainers that have passed the final trial have likely already completed their selection. If you are not satisfied with the remaining people, Sky Declaring Pavilion will prepare some new ones for you. Qin Yu waved his hand. There is no need to trouble yourself. Let's deal with some trivial matters today. Outside the silver-white doors, there were fewer young cultivators standing apart. Those that remained were a bit crestfallen. There were many apprentices that thought highly of themselves, but weren't chosen. They clenched their fists in their sleeves and gnashed their teeth. They clearly weren't any worse than them. So why weren't they chosen? Bang! The silver-white doors were pushed open and a Sky Declaring Pavilion cultivator appeared. Looking at the badge on his chest, he was an apprentice of an official beast trainer. He swept his eyes over the crowd and said, "The beast trainers have finished their selection. You may all leave." There was a sudden silence. Then there was the sound of stifled sobs. Several female cultivators with poor mental states had tears streaming down their faces. If they missed out on today's chance, they would be doomed to a life of mediocrity. Big Sister Yindai, the petite female cultivator, paled. Although she told herself not to hold out too much hope, when the end arrived, she still felt a heavy feeling in her chest that made it hard for her to breathe. Yin Jiao thought of her mother's eager eyes when she left. She could read the anticipation in them. She didn't know how to face her mother's sad expression. Don't be sad. Even if you miss out on today's chance, that doesn't mean you can't become a true beast trainer in the future. Although a good teacher can help us avoid detours, we still have to rely on ourselves. Beneath her light purple hair, she had a light expression. She chose to ignore the puzzled and mocking gazes around her. Indeed, she had refused that beast trainer selection. In their eyes, this was a very stupid thing to do. But from that person's eyes, Yindai was well aware just what sort of fate awaited her if she agreed to become a secret disciple. Yindai didn't want to sell herself, so she refused. Just like all these years, she had given up one opportunity after another. But in the end, there was always a trace of disappointment in her heart. Yindai pursed her lips. "Let's go." She bowed to the sky, declaring Pavilion Cultivator, and left. Just as the several people were about to push open the door, there was the sound of hurried footsteps behind them. There were several whispers, and then the sky declaring Pavilion Cultivator who announced the end shouted out, "Everyone come back. There is still a beast trainer who hasn't chosen yet." Yindai fiercely turned around. She didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but she seemed to see a trace of envy in this person's eyes. Envy? How is that possible? An official apprentice that had a teacher guiding them was far, far stronger than them. It should be an illusion. Yindai took a deep breath and suppressed her thoughts. She turned and said, "There's still one last chance. Perhaps good luck will arrive? Even if there is good luck, there are so many people here. It might not fall on our heads." The gray-haired youth muttered. Yin Jiao ruthlessly glared at him. "Shut up. No one will think you are mute if you don't speak." She looked at the open silver door, her bright eyes filled with stubbornness. She was like a drowning person who had grasped onto the last straw of hope. Everyone lined up according to their number plates. They lowered their heads, excitement and awe filling their hearts as they walked through the silver door. This was a spacious corridor. At the end of it was a grand hall. At the entrance of the grand hall stood two calm figures. Zhai Shangyue. A shout suddenly sounded out, but even more eyes were focused on another figure. No, the young girl's eyes were filled with infatuated little stars. Is that Mr. Sun Xiangzhong?" Yin Jiao's voice trembled. No one answered her question. Even the usually calm Yindai blushed at this time. Sun Xiangzhong was an extremely famous figure in Mid-Morning City. He was a rising star of the beast trainers and had hopes of reaching the Grandmaster realm in the future. Moreover, he wasn't even 100 years old. His talent was so outstanding that it left one amazed. In particular, the key point was that Sun Xiangzhong came from an ordinary background. For him to have his current achievements, he had relied on himself to reach them step by step, without any tricks at all. Because of this, he became the idol of countless low-level beast trainers and was regarded as a beacon of hope on the road of life. Could it be that Mr. Sun Xiangzhong was choosing apprentices today? "Greetings, Mr. Sun." All the apprentices respectfully bowed. Sun Xiangzhong was silent for a moment. Then, he slowly said, "I am truly envious of everyone here today. You were actually able to obtain such a lucky chance. I hope that you can grasp it well and not waste this chance to change your destiny." He didn't say anything else and drew back to the side. Yindai was stunned. This time, she was sure that she wasn't mistaken. Mr. Sun really was expressing his envy towards them. Could it be that with Mr. Sun's status, he also believed that entering this grand hall and being chosen was a lucky chance that left others envious? Then, just who was in this grand hall? Yindai's heartbeat quickened. She subconsciously clenched her fists. She swept her eyes around and discovered that everyone had excited expressions. Since they were able to come here, no one needed to top up their intelligence. They naturally grasped the crux of the matter. The group became increasingly quiet. Even the sound of breathing was restrained. Everyone lowered their heads even more, putting forth all of their awe and respect in the hopes that they would be chosen by the person in the hall. Zhaishan lowered his voice. "Xiangzhong, who do you think the Grandmaster will choose?" He knew most of the youths here. They all had decent backgrounds and decent talent. Sun Xiangzhong shook his head. "How can I know what the Grandmaster is thinking? But if he really chooses, he might be able to do as he pleases. With the Grandmaster's strength, He could even carve a piece of rotten wood into something brilliant. He really envied these juniors. He wondered if he would have a chance to enter the Grandmaster's tutelage in the future, and the status of a Silver Moon level beast trainer. In his opinion, that was worthless. Zhaishan looked at his good friend's disappointed expression and easily guessed what he was thinking. His lips twitched. He thought that he really needed to work harder, otherwise sooner or later he would be left behind by this fellow. However, the body transformation method that the Pavilion Master had bestowed upon him was truly difficult. It had already been several years, and he still hadn't been able to peek through it. Just thinking about it left him sad. The Grand Hall was quiet, but everyone could clearly feel the corporeal gaze coming from above. It was calm and full of oppression. Choose me. Choose me. Hurry up and choose me. Several short breaths of time passed by, but to everyone it felt like an eternity. Their bodies grew increasingly tense, and beads of sweat dripped down their foreheads. Yin Dai's breath caught in her throat. This was because her intuition told her that that gaze had fallen on her. Was it because of that? Chapter 696. Ever since he was a child, Si Yuan's appetite had always been delicious. His body was so round that it didn't conform to the aesthetic standards of most female cultivators. Thus, even now he was still a single man. This time, his family had spent a great deal of effort in exchange for a chance for him to turn things around. As long as he could become an official beast trainer, what did it matter if he was a little fat? There were countless beautiful women willing to throw themselves at him. For this great dream, Si Yuan came to Sky Declaring Pavilion filled with anticipation. But reality was always cruel. Of the 6 beast trainers that chose him, he wasn't even on the list. What left Si Yuan especially sad was that a woman he had loved for many years had already been chosen. Although she was lucky and had only entered the list as a substitute because a girl called Yundai had given up her qualifications. But this wasn't important. What was important was that without accident, she would likely become a true beast trainer in several years, and the distance between them would only grow wider and wider. This was his last chance. Reason told Si Yuan that he had to show enough respect in order to be chosen. But every time he showed less respect, he had already failed 6 times. He couldn't just sit here and wait for death. He had to find a way to obtain attention. Only like this would he have a chance. Little by little, Si Yuan struggled to look up. A figure appeared in his peripheral vision, but he was just a bit away from seeing it clearly. Beads of sweat dripped down his forehead and into his eyes. A sour feeling blurred his vision. He blinked, and that figure finally became clear. In the next moment, Si Yuan's eyes widened. He staggered, and his fat body crashed to the ground, emitting a deep rumbling sound that was particularly clear in the quiet hall. The nervous crowd was startled. They subconsciously looked up and gasped. With so many people speaking together, there was a momentum that seemed as if it could topple mountains and overturn seas. It was him. It was him. How could it be him? Everyone was dumbfounded. The one sitting high in the hall was the black-robed youth that they thought had cut in line not too long ago. It was still that ordinary face, without the least bit of brilliance. But now, in their eyes, there was a dignified air. After a moment of absent-mindedness, they finally regained their composure. As they looked at the twitching little fatty on the ground, their faces filled with pity. If it were them, they would have been so frightened that they couldn't even stand. It didn't matter if your mouth was cheap, but your luck was just too bad. Qin Yu lifted a finger. Are you willing to follow me and learn? Shua. All eyes gathered on Yun Dai, filled with envy. Just now, it seemed that she was the one who answered this gentleman's question. Sure enough, kind-hearted people were more likely to be rewarded. Yin Dai met Qin Yu's gaze. She didn't feel anything else from his eyes, but after all her experiences these past years, she didn't dare to easily believe this. Why me? Is it just because I answered his question? This didn't make sense at all. For some strange reason, Yin Dai said, My lord, I hope that you can accept my companions as your secret disciples. The envious crowd stared with their eyes wide open. They thought to themselves, are you crazy? This kind of heavenly good thing Others can't even beg for it, and you actually dare to raise conditions. My lord, look, she's not qualified at all. Please choose me. I'm a very obedient person. Chinyu was silent for a moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, he nodded. Sure. Then, he raised his hand and pointed at a few more people. You, and the three of you, report to Sun Xiangzhang later. Ah, thank you. My lord, thank you, my lord. The selected people were overjoyed. Chinyu didn't delay any longer. He nodded and left. Sun Xiangzhang, who was waiting outside, had a strange expression. Most beast trainers would only choose 1 or 2 secret disciples, but this person had chosen 10 in a single breath. Could he even guide them all? Grandmaster, he whispered in his heart, not daring to reveal any of this. Chinyu nodded. In the next 2 days, I will have a secret disciple coming. Prepare ahead of time. Sun Xiangzhang respectfully nodded, healing the skylark, helping it evolve into a fire phoenix, and even saving a dying fetus. Feng Qing looked at the strange face in front of her and sighed from the bottom of her heart. Indeed, a great figure that could reach the divine realm couldn't be speculated with common sense. Grandmaster, Hidden Fog Sect's old Mr. Wei and Grandmaster Rong have been waiting for a long time. The door to the box opened from the inside. Old Wei and Rong Wei walked out and cupped their hand across their chests. We took the liberty to visit. I asked for Grandmaster's forgiveness. They didn't know the final results, but just the gray thread grass alone was enough to prove Grandmaster Ningqin's strength. And powerhouses, no matter where or when, would always obtain enough respect. Chinyu nodded. I already know why you two have come. Let's talk inside. Grandmaster, please. Food and wine were prepared in the box. With the door closed, it was isolated from the outside world and quiet. Old Wei smiled. Grandmaster, this wine is part of my Hidden Fog Sect's precious collection. Drinking it can cleanse one's spirit and mind and make one's mind clear. There is no harm in tasting it first. Chinyu lightly said, I have already joined Sky Declaring Pavilion, and there are still many trivial matters to attend to. Let's not beat around the bush and get straight to the point. Rong Wei said, Grandmaster is a straightforward person. I will listen to your instructions. He took a deep breath, his eyes solemn. Grandmaster Ningqin, may I ask if the gray thread grass in Miss Zhou Li's hand was one of your masterpieces? Chinyu said, That's right. Although he already knew this, hearing Chinyu admit it still caused Rong Wei's eyes to brighten. There was a bit more respect in his eyes. Grandmaster's method of cultivating that gray thread grass is something I have never seen before. It is truly breathtaking. Old Wei and I originally hoped that Grandmaster would join my Hidden Fog sect. For this, my sect is willing to show sufficient sincerity. Feng Qing suddenly pouted. Grandmaster Rong, are you trying to steal someone from Sky Declaring Pavilion right in front of me? Grandmaster Ningqin is already a member of my Sky Declaring Pavilion. I ask Grandmaster Rong to rest assured that even in the future I will not give you a chance. Rong Wei forced a smile. Miss Feng Qing is right. If my Hidden Fog sect can recruit Grandmaster Ningqin, we will also treat him as an honored guest and not give others the slightest chance. He took a deep breath and continued to say, So, my sect can only take a step back and hope that we can invite Grandmaster Ningqin to cultivate 10 gray thread grass of the same quality for us. Feng Qing relaxed a little. She smiled. This sort of matter will depend on Grandmaster Ningqin's own opinion. Old Wei cupped his hands together. Grandmaster Ningqin, I ask that you help us. The Hidden Fog sect will surely give you sufficient compensation. Chinyu tapped his fingers on the table. So, in order to obtain the gray thread grass, you want Sky Declaring Pavilion to hand over Zhou Li. Are you planning on using her as a bargaining chip to threaten me into lowering my head? The room fell silent. Feng Qing's expression didn't change. She had already expected this. How could the dignity of a divine realm powerhouse tolerate such provocation? Although the Hidden Fog sect was strong, in the eyes of this person, they weren't strong enough to make him swallow his anger. Old Wei's face stiffened. Rong Wei hurriedly said, I won't hide it from Grandmaster Ningqin. The gray thread grass you cultivate is extremely important to my sect. It is because of this that I was anxious and made this decision. But I asked Grandmaster Ningqin to rest assured that my sect has absolutely no ill intentions towards Ms. Zhou, nor have we ever thought of using her to threaten you. I can swear on this. Qin Yu coldly sneered. Remember, this is the last time. Otherwise, the Hidden Fog sect can forget about obtaining anything from my hands. Although his attitude wasn't good, Old Wei's complexion eased a great deal. This meant that the previous conflict had temporarily passed. Of course, they had also received Qin Yu's warning. They absolutely couldn't use Zhou Li in the future. The cultivation of gray thread grass is extremely complex, especially since you want 10 stalks. I will need some time, and the cost will be great. Forgive me for my solemnity when I lie with my eyes wide open. But the entire Hidden Fog sect was willing to believe him. What nonsense! That sort of astonishing transformation wasn't something that could be easily accomplished. Old Wei said in a low voice, "Grandmaster, please state your price." From his appearance, it was clear he was prepared to suffer a saber strike. If he opened his mouth too small, he would be letting down the Hidden Fog sect's resolve. Qin Yu's thoughts stirred. "Miss Feng Qing, what do you think I should ask for?" Feng Qing covered her mouth and smiled. "Grandmaster, do you really want me to say it?" Her thoughts raced. Qin Yu nodded. Feng Qing had already made her decision. "Then I won't decline. If there is anything I'm not satisfied with, Grandmaster can point it out." She looked at Old Wei and Roan Wei. "You two should know that whether it is raising beasts or cultivating spiritual objects, both are extremely taxing on the soul. I heard that the Hidden Fog sect has a mystic realm where a strange flower called the blue orchid grows. It is greatly beneficial to the soul. I will exchange 1 gray thread grass for 1 blue orchid. What do you two think?" "Impossible." Old Wei stood up. "Miss Feng Qing, you are far too insincere. This wasn't just a lion opening its mouth. It was even bigger than a dragon's head." Feng Qing smiled. "I'm only bidding for Grandmaster as a reference. If you don't agree, then Grandmaster can decide for himself." Qin Yu lightly said, 1 stalk for 1 stalk. Bartering is very fair." Old Wei's complexion paled. Roan Wei bitterly smiled. "Grandmaster Ningqin, it isn't that we don't want to agree, but the blue orchid grows very slowly. It takes 1,000 years for one to mature, and it has many uses. Right now, our sect's entire stock is only 7 stalks." Feng Qing's eyes brightened. "Grandmaster, the Hidden Fog sect is very sincere. If possible, you might as well take a step back." She didn't know what gray thread grass was, but the value of 7 blue orchid flowers was enough to make anyone's heart race. In the past, Sky Declaring Pavilion had auctioned off one, and the final price had been so high that it left one dumbfounded. Qin Yu frowned. After a long silence, he slowly said, "Then 7. Roan Wei said, "Deal." Old Wei opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he chose to remain silent. Blue orchid flowers were indeed precious and could be called the Hidden Fog sect's ultimate treasure. But as long as the mystic realm existed, they could continuously produce them. Compared to that, the gray thread grass that could help the Dark Star Ice Serpent transform its bloodline was far more important. How long will Grandmaster Ningqin need to deliver the gray thread grass? Qin Yu thought for a moment. 3 months. Roan Wei had a difficult expression on his face. Can you deliver 2 of them within a month? The rest can be made up after 3 months. Of course, Feng Qing said. According to the rules, the Hidden Fog sect will also need to pay 1/3 of the reward in advance. Old Wei took a deep breath. In 3 days, the Hidden Fog sect will deliver 2 blue orchid flowers to Grandmaster Ningqin. But I ask that Grandmaster and Miss Feng Qing keep this transaction a secret. Do not mention it to anyone else. Qin Yu smiled. Of course, even if the Hidden Fog sect didn't mention this, he still had to explain this point. Otherwise, Jolie would inevitably be noticed, and a series of unpredictable consequences would occur. After discussing proper business, Roan Wei relaxed. Although he had paid a great price, he had still completed the sect's mission. Cough. Grandmaster Ning Qin, I have a personal request. I wonder if Grandmaster can make a trip to the Hidden Fog sect and teach us a lesson on cultivating spiritual objects. Of course, this doesn't involve Grandmaster's specific methods. I only need to point out a general direction. Feng Qing's eyes brightened. To be invited by the Hidden Fog sect to teach, there had never been a beast trainer in Sky Declaring Pavilion who had such an honor. This was a great honor. If there is time in the future, I will consider it. Sky Declaring Pavilion's reception and trading area only occupied a small portion of the overall layout. The larger area was allocated to the cultivators of the building according to their status. Although he had concealed his true strength according to Grandmaster Ning Qin's request, the Mid-Morning City Branch Division naturally wouldn't treat him on the same level as ordinary beast trainers. There were 3 independent wooden buildings and the surrounding courtyards that were around 3 to 4 acres in size. This was where he would live and work from now on. There was a small building near the lake that was covered in vines. Opening the door, one could see the beautiful scenery of the lake. This was where Qin Yu lived. Now, he was sitting on a soft sofa in the hall on the first floor. Standing in front of him were 10 respectful youths. They were the disciples he had chosen. Teacher. They knelt to the ground and bowed. The so-called secret disciple was only a relatively nice-sounding title. Their status was a bit higher than that of an apprentice. They helped beast trainers complete experiments, recorded all sorts of complex data on spirit beasts, and were also responsible for daily care. Only by truly obtaining recognition could they become a true disciple and receive the orthodox teachings of a beast trainer. Even so, as they knelt on the ground, the young disciples were still excited. Although they had already guessed that their teacher was strong, it was only after arriving here that they had a more direct understanding. The stronger one was, the larger their residence would be. This was one of the simplest rules in Sky Declaring Pavilion to judge one's strength. And their teacher's manor was at the top of the entire Sky Declaring Pavilion. Just thinking about it left them excited. The only bad thing was that their teacher had chosen far too many secret disciples. If they wanted to stand out and become a true disciple, it wouldn't be simple at all. In particular, there was a difficult character to deal with. Several people looked at Yin Dai with worry in their eyes. Qin Yu's eyes swept over them. He smiled and said, "Rise. Starting from today, you will follow me and learn. The only thing you must remember is to speak less and do more." Do you understand what I mean? Yes, teacher, the disciples respectfully said. Suddenly, there was a loud cry. A burning heat rose up between the heavens and earth. Waves rose up on the surface of the calm lake. With the howling of the wind, a massive flaming bird flapped its wings as it flew over. There was a crown on its head, and its eyes were like fire crystals, filled with a majestic aura. Each and every movement it made emitted a formidable pressure. This was the skylark that had evolved into a fire phoenix. Behind it was a small fireball that flapped its wings as hard as it could. After a cry of surprise, it suddenly accelerated and landed on Qin Yu's shoulder, happily humming against his neck. Seeing this, the eyes of the disciples were filled with deep envy. Was this the fire phoenix that had recognized their teacher as master? The feeling it gave off was even stronger than the rumors made it out to be. They had no idea when they would be able to reach their teacher's level and have such a formidable spirit beast recognize them as master on its own. Qin Yu didn't care about the disciples' expressions. He smiled and reached out a hand to stroke its feathers. His eyes fell on the rippling surface of the lake. Chapter 697. Sun Xiangzhong walked through the entrance of the External Affairs Division. He nodded at the smiling External Affairs Division director and said, "I have come to take my reward for treating the moon praying beast." The External Affairs Division director was a thin man. He flattered, "If Mr. Sun was able to complete the mission in such a short period of time, I fear it won't be long before you rise to the Middle Silver Moon realm." He handed over a seal box with both hands. "Your reward is in here. Please inspect it." He had a sense of propriety. He was clearly flattering Qin Yu without causing others to feel disgusted. Sun Xiangzhong opened the box. He glanced over it and said, "There's no problem." He closed the box and prepared to leave. Another person entered through the entrance. Looking at his clothes, he was a secret disciple of a beast trainer. "I am Mr. Ning Qin's secret disciple. This is the token." Sun Xiangzhong paused. He knew with a glance that the token was real. But in his memories, Grandmaster Ning Qin didn't have this young man among his disciples. "You are Mr. Ning Qin's secret disciple?" Facing Sun Xiangzhong's suspicious gaze, Qin Yu smiled and said, "Yes, I followed at teacher's side. It was only later that I came to Sky Declaring Pavilion." Sun Xiangzhong immediately remembered that Grandmaster Ning Qin had once said that he had another secret disciple who would come later. It seemed that it was this young man. If he could be chosen by Grandmaster Ning Qin and be kept by his side, his talent must be outstanding. Perhaps he had the chance to become the Grandmaster's true inner disciple. Sun Xiangzhong's eyes softened. If you study at the Grandmaster's side, as long as you work hard, you will have great achievements in the future. I am Sun Xiangzhong. If you encounter any problems in the future, you can come find me. Qin Yu cupped his hands together. Thank you for the advice, Mr. Sunday. This secret disciple was something he had prepared for himself. It would be more convenient for him to act in the future. Sun Xiangzhong smiled. What are you doing here? Qin Yu said, Teacher has a package for me to take. Although the External Affairs Division Director didn't understand why a little apprentice like him would be valued so highly by Mr. Sun, he had been in this position for over a decade. He naturally wasn't lacking in social connections. He turned and gave some orders. Soon, someone delivered a box. As he saw the sender's information, his eyes widened. Hidden Fog Sect. His smile became even brighter. Little brother, Mr. Ning's things are here. Would you like to take a look? Qin Yu shook his head. I have no right to look through teacher's things. He took the box and bowed to Sun Xiangzhong after thanking him. Mr. Sun, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. After leaving the External Affairs Division, Qin Yu didn't stop. He directly returned to Rising Lake. Rising Lake was the name of the manor. It was unknown who had named it, but Qin Yu was too lazy to change it, so he kept the name. As he entered, he ran into several young cultivators who were walking out. As they saw Qin Yu and the box in his hands, their eyes widened. But very quickly, they regained their composure and cupped their hands. Eldest senior brother. Qin Yu nodded. Without speaking to them, he quickly vanished from sight. Humph. A young man coldly snorted, a gloomy expression on his face. I don't know where this brat came from, but he was lucky enough to be chosen by the Grandmaster first. Yet he dares to be so arrogant. His name was Li Hao, and he was one of the registered disciples. A female disciple quietly said, It's not as simple as just good luck. Qin Yu followed teacher's orders just now and went to the External Affairs Division to collect the package. Moreover, he is the only one who can freely enter and exit teacher's residence. It was clear that this eldest senior apprentice brother was favored by teacher more than any of them. Li Hao clenched his teeth. Sooner or later, I will find out just what he relied on to obtain teacher's trust. Only by figuring it out would he have a chance to replace him. In a small building by the lake, Qin Yu held the token in his hand and entered. With a thought, he activated the array formation, isolating himself from the outside world. He quickly entered the training room and placed the box on the stone platform. 2 flowers wrapped in transparent bubbles appeared in his line of sight. This was a way to preserve the efficacy of a spiritual object. As long as one gently touched it, it would shatter. Qin Yu didn't hesitate. With a light pa sound, a blue orchid appeared in his hand. An extremely rich fragrance rushed into his nose and mouth. A shiver rose up from the depths of his soul, turning into an irrepressible desire to swallow. His goal was the blue wonder flower in his hand. Subconsciously, he sucked in a deep breath. The flower petals fell off on their own, dissipating into gas that entered his body through his nose and mouth. In the blink of an eye, the entire blue wonder flower vanished from sight. Then, a feeling as warm as water wrapped around Qin Yu's soul. Faint traces of a gentle strength constantly seeped into his soul, repairing his soul that had yet to recover from its severe wounds and had also been ravaged by the ashes of ashes. An hour later, the soul-repairing strength disappeared. Chinyu reached out a hand and took the second flower, sucking it into his body. After a long time, the training room opened from the inside, and Chinyu walked out with a smile on his face. The blue wonder flower was truly worthy of being the Hidden Fog sect's most precious treasure. In terms of repairing the damaged soul, it had an amazing effect. The power of the chain of stars could suppress the speed at which his soul collapsed. After absorbing these two blue wonder flowers, Chinyu could extend his life for at least 2 years. Unfortunately, this heaven-defying treasure seemed to have an extremely high resistance. The effects of the second blue wonder flower were far inferior to the first one. It was around a third worse. Even if Chinyu didn't care about wasting it, he would only be able to use 5 blue wonder flowers at most. After that, it wouldn't have any effect on him. Otherwise, if he absorbed dozens of them, he might be able to directly recover. However, there was no need to worry about wasting good things. If Chinyu didn't need them, he could take them out to exchange for other soul-repairing treasures. After determining the effects of the blue wonder flower, Chinyu was even more attentive to the Hidden Fog sect's request. As for the special ash line grass, it was easy to produce. There was still a month left, so there was no need to worry too much. Jolie furrowed her eyebrows. She didn't know anyone from the Hidden Fog sect, and because of the Truewood sect, she instinctively loathed cultivation sections. But since Miss Feng Qing had asked her to come see them, Jolie had no reason to refuse. Moreover, she was a bit curious about this inexplicable request. She wanted to know just what was going on. "May I ask if you are Miss Jolie?" The young cultivator gently smiled. Jolie wasn't a member of the Appearance Association, but as she looked at the smiling, handsome cultivator in front of her, her complexion softened a little. "I am. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I have no connection with the Hidden Fog sect. May I ask why you have come today?" The young cultivator cupped his hands together. "Miss Jolie, rest assured that I am Xiang Ziyue. I have come here on the orders of the sect to express my thanks to you." Seeing Jolie's puzzled expression, he continued to explain, 2 months ago, Miss Jolie sold an ash line grass. As for the specifics, it is inconvenient for me to speak of them, but it has been of great help to the Hidden Fog sect. Jolie's mouth fell open. She never imagined things would be like this. Xiang Ziyue placed a storage bracelet on the table. "I heard that Ms. Jolie has just stepped into the cultivation world, so the Hidden Fog sect has prepared some suitable pills as a thank you gift. They should be able to help Miss Jolie make a breakthrough as soon as possible." After completing the task given to him by the sect, Xiang Ziyue cupped his hands together. Without giving Jolie a chance to refuse, he turned and left. As he walked out of Sky, declaring pavilion, he turned his head, his eyes bright. Xiang Ziyue certainly knew why the dignified Hidden Fog sect would value a little girl who had just entered the cultivation world. Unfortunately, he didn't have the chance to see that mysterious Grandmaster Ningqin. But luckily, the other party would deliver 2 ash line grass within a month. He hoped that he would be able to see the Grandmaster's elegant demeanor at that time. In the reception room, a trace of divine sense was taken back from the storage bracelet. Jolie's expression was shaken. After the excitement passed, there was a complex look in her eyes. After the Truewood sect incident, she believed she had already repaid Chinyu's favor. But in the end, her harvest today were all thanks to him. Unknowingly, she owed him another favor. Biting her lips, Jolie suppressed these thoughts. She certainly wouldn't be pedantic and abandon these pills. With the help of these pills, she was confident her cultivation could rise by several levels in a short period of time. At worst, she would repay him more in the future. Sky Declaring Pavilion's Mid-Morning City Branch Division issued the first mission to the new beast trainers. Chinyu was assigned to treat a severely injured strange beast. Its name was Strange. Strange's name is Greedy Moon. It is a spirit beast that worships the moon and absorbs the essence of the moon to cultivate. It has a gentle temperament and does not harm living beings. Only in extremely rare circumstances will there be a mutation in the bloodline of Greedy Moon. Its head will swell up several times, and its eyes will turn silver white. It will transform into Strange. The strange beast's brain will mutate, and its soul force will rise dramatically. It will possess an extremely powerful divine sense and can easily break through all sorts of soul-sealing methods. It is extremely useful in all aspects. But after the mutation, the strange beast will be affected by a powerful soul, and its temperament will change. It will become bloodthirsty, and you will need to be extra careful when approaching it. Yun Dai's voice was calm as she read the records of the strange beast in the jade slip. This strange beast suddenly went crazy after a battle. Although it was subdued, its soul suffered a backlash, and its strength declined to less than half of its peak. What teacher needs to do is to restore the strange beast to its original state within half a month. Once this is achieved, the mission will be completed and there will be rewards. She laid down the jade slip. Teacher, the general contents are here. There is also a preliminary examination of the strange beast's injuries. The experimental building had a total of 5 floors. 3 were above ground and 2 were underground. The first floor was a public hall, the second floor was for secret disciples to use, and the third floor was Chinyu's laboratory. The 2 underground floors were used to temporarily place spirit beasts that needed to be dealt with. For instance, this strange beast was currently on the first floor. As Yun Dai's voice fell, the secret disciples subconsciously frowned, a dignified look on their faces. Although they were far from being true beast trainers, they had already accumulated a wealth of basic common sense. Repairing soul damage was one of the most difficult ways to heal a spirit beast. Moreover, after this strange beast suffered a backlash, its consciousness became muddled and it became even more violent. This made treatment even more difficult. Chinyu nodded. You all already know the details of the mission. According to the situation, each of you will design a treatment plan. You will be given 1 day to complete it. The most outstanding ones will be allowed to join me and participate in the treatment of this strange beast. The secret disciples' eyes widened. After a brief moment of shock, they were all pleasantly surprised. Yes, teacher. As secret disciples, they never imagined that they would be able to come into contact with the work of beast trainers from the very start. Teacher was giving them a chance. They absolutely could not miss it. As secret disciples, they also had the qualifications to read through the basic ancient texts of beast trainers. Thus, the secret disciples plunged in and crazily flipped through the materials. They soon attracted the attention of others. When the secret disciples of other beast trainers learned that they were preparing treatment plans and even had a chance to participate in the treatment process, they were all shocked and envious. Sun Xiangzhang had a look of praise. Grandmaster Ningqin is truly extraordinary. He actually thought of such a method to train his disciples. He thought for a moment and then lifted a pen to draw on a piece of paper. Take 3 nether jade lotuses and use the lotus seeds as the main ingredient. Combine them with ardent sunflowers, hyacinths, and severing cold grass. Extract the essence and smelt it into a pill. After a long time, Sun Xiangzhang put down his pen. As he looked at the modified treatment plan, his eyes lit up with anticipation. He took out a jade slip and recorded the treatment method within. Then, Sun Xiangzhang called over a disciple and ordered, "Take this jade slip to Rising Lake and ask Mr. Ningqin to comment on it." This was the compromise he came up with. Since he couldn't directly obtain Grandmaster Ningqin's guidance, then he would make his own arrangements according to his mission. It wouldn't be too much to ask him to give some pointers, right? Yin Dai didn't follow Yin Jiao and the others to look through the ancient texts. Instead, she sat in her room, holding a jade slip in her hands. After a long time, she clenched her teeth. She placed the jade slip against her forehead and began to pour information into it. Soon she finished. Yin Dai hesitated for a moment and then made several changes. Only then did she let out a long breath of relief. In a short period of time, her complexion was pale and her forehead was covered with beads of sweat, as if she had exhausted a great deal of her mind. In order to obtain teacher's approval, I can only take some risks. Otherwise, when will I ever have the chance to stand out? I hope I won't be discovered." As she muttered to herself, it was unknown what she was thinking. After a brief moment, Yundai revealed a pained expression. Qin Yu walked out from Sky, declaring Pavilion's ancient texts. As an official beast trainer, he had the qualifications to look through most precious ancient texts. If he wanted to become a true beast trainer with rich experience in a short period of time, it was impossible. But if it was just memorizing some things, it was actually quite simple. For instance, right now, Qin Yu was constantly recalling and deepening his memory of the Rare Treasures Complete book. This was an ancient text with an unknown author. It recorded all sorts of rare and precious treasures, and there were 2 chapters that specifically recorded most of the known mortal body and soul-type treasures. There were many others, but for the time being, these were the 2 that Qin Yu urgently needed. After carefully recalling several times and making sure he hadn't missed anything, his eyes brightened. The mission to treat the Wonder Beast should have been arranged by Feng Qing. That woman was indeed smart. She might have already sensed something. Luckily, the time at Wudong Mountain had left a deep impression on her. For the time being, she wouldn't act rashly. He hoped that there would be some harvest from this treatment. 11 treatment plans were placed in front of him. After Yundai read them out, Qin Yu pointed to a jade slip without hesitation. "This one is the best." This treatment plan required the use of the Thunder Cleansing Willow. After being destroyed, the willow branch had been revitalized. It contained a boundless aura of life and was a precious treasure for repairing injuries. Chapter 698. Qin Yu's seemingly simple choice actually caused a great deal of trouble for Yundai. She had come up with this treatment plan in hopes of obtaining approval so that she could become a true beast trainer sooner. But Qin Yu's decision was too direct. There was no explanation at all. It inevitably caused people to form some dark associations. After becoming a secret disciple, Yundai had always been cautious. As for Qin Yu, he hadn't revealed any abnormalities. But she didn't relax her guard because of this. Could it be that the tranquility of these past days was a deliberate disguise? After figuring out her background, he finally couldn't help but make a move. But to give up this chance because of pure speculation. Yundai took a deep breath and temporarily suppressed her restlessness. But she had already decided that once she sensed something was wrong, she would immediately leave. After confirming the treatment plan for the Wonder Beast, it was quickly approved. Because this was a task assigned to them, everything needed during the process would be borne by Sky Declaring Pavilion. Of course, all costs would eventually be borne by the master of the Wonder Beast. The premise was that the treatment effects could meet expectations. Carrying the metal box needed to treat the Wonder Beast, Yundai followed behind Qin Yu. Beneath the envious gazes of the other secret disciples, she walked towards the entrance to the underground level. As the winner of the treatment plan, this was the reward she deserved. But as she looked at the entrance in front of her that was like the mouth of a monster, Yundai revealed a look of struggle. She finally couldn't help but ask, "Teacher, why did you choose me?" She stared closely at Qin Yu, trying to find some useful clues from his face. But unfortunately, that calm face didn't reveal the slightest bit of emotion. He swept his eyes over her and lightly said, "Because your plan was the most suitable." This explanation was no different from not saying anything. Looking at Qin Yu's back, Yundai bit her lips. After a breath of time, she lowered her head and followed. Sun Xiangzhong withdrew his divine sense from the jade slip. He frowned, a thoughtful look on his face. This treatment plan is indeed amazing. It fuses the boundless vitality of the Thunder Cleansing Willow with the Soul Gathering Wood. But it has obvious flaws. The overall treatment effect cannot compare with the seed of the Nether Jade Lotus. Moreover, fusing the Thunder Cleansing Willow with the Soul Gathering Wood isn't easy. It increases the difficulty of the treatment by at least 40%. Even if I wanted to raise this disciple named Yundai, I should have made up for the flaws. I shouldn't have submitted an incomplete plan. The more Sun Xiangzhong thought about it, the more confused he became. He rubbed his temples. Why did Grandmaster Ningqin choose it? Could it be that there was something in this treatment plan that he didn't understand? Sun Xiangzhong thought for a moment and contacted Zhou Xinhong through the internal communication method after carefully deliberating it again, and still to no avail. "Hello, Xiangzhong." A slightly tired voice came from the receiver. Sun Xiangzhong looked apologetic. "Did I disturb your rest, Mr. Zhou? I'm really sorry." Zhou Xinhong smiled. "It's nothing. I just finished an experiment and haven't rested yet. If you have anything to say, just say it." Sun Xiangzhong explained what he didn't know. "Mr. Zhou, you're the authority in healing spirit beast souls. I wonder if you can discover something else from this treatment plan." Zhou Xinhong was silent for a moment. "Xiangzhong, I've already looked over the treatment plan that Grandmaster Ningqin submitted, but I'm just as confused as you. However, I believe that since the Great Master is doing this, he must have his reasons. We might as well wait and see the results." No matter which treatment plan it was to achieve the desired effect, so the final result was the best way to test it. After hanging up the call, Sun Xiangzhong raised his head and looked in the direction of the rising lake. If he wasn't mistaken, the treatment of the exotic beast had already begun. Feng Qing stood up and saw Jiang Yiyun off. As the steward of the mid-morning city branch division, he had a high status in Sky Declaring Pavilion. She had given the respect he deserved. Of course, the shrewd and experienced Jiang Yiyun was even more respectful. He firmly declined her offer to see him off and turned to leave. Feng Qing turned around and sat back down. She picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. Thinking back to Jiang Yiyun's probing just now, she didn't reveal any flaws. Others might not know why Grandmaster Ningqin chose Yin Dai's treatment plan, but she could faintly guess what it was. Comparing the number of spiritual objects he needed, it wasn't difficult to filter out his true needs. Thus, when the materials were allocated, she took the initiative to cut out some other things and added 2 more thunder cleansing willows. Although the value was still a bit high, it wouldn't arouse too much attention. Thinking about it, Grandmaster Ningqin should be satisfied. Feng Qing hoped to obtain his help, so she naturally had to work hard to obtain his approval. Putting herself in his shoes was clearly the best way to do so. "Miss, listening to Steward Zhang's words just now, it seems that the treatment plan that Grandmaster Ningqin chose isn't appropriate," Zhou hesitantly said. As a personal maid, after obtaining the young Miss's trust, she knew more than others. This Grandmaster Ningqin had an extremely close relationship with the young Miss. If something were to happen to him, the young Miss might also be implicated. Feng Qing smiled. "You don't need to worry. Since Grandmaster Ningqin chose this treatment plan, he must be confident he can do it." Zhou had followed Feng Qing for the past few days and had gained some understanding of her personality. Since she said this, she was confident in herself. "It seems that Grandmaster Ningqin is fiercer than I thought." She had an envious look. In the past, Father Zhou had exhausted a great deal of time and effort in order to become a beast trainer. But even when he died, he hadn't succeeded. Feng Qing's eyes flashed. "Zhou, if you're interested, then after you break through to the Golden Core realm, I can recommend you to Grandmaster Ningqin. Perhaps he will accept you as a disciple and guide you in becoming a beast trainer." Zhou was pleasantly surprised. "Miss, is that really possible?" Feng Qing nodded. "Since I said it, I naturally wouldn't lie to you." With how much importance Ningqin placed on the Zhou family, if Zhou really wanted to become a beast trainer, he shouldn't refuse her. But unexpectedly, after a brief silence, Zhou slowly said, "Miss, if possible, can I give this chance to someone else?" A strange light flashed in Feng Qing's eyes. "The person you speak of, is it your fiancé?" "Miss, I've already explained to you that it is impossible for me to like him. It was grandfather who forced me to agree." Zhou stamped her feet. "You also know that the Hidden Fog sect gifted me pills. I just don't want to owe him any favors. If possible, I asked Miss to help me." Feng Qing coughed. "I see. I need to think about it. We can discuss this later." Seeing Zhou Li's disappointed expression, a strange light flashed in her eyes. She thought that this really was a coincidence. Chapter 699. On the first floor of Rising Lake Laboratory Building, Yundai sat behind a test bench. She was recording all sorts of data related to the Wonder Beast that was calculated. Although the process was simple and boring, Yundai didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. This was because this data would become the basis for her subsequent treatment. As she waited for the calculation, she subconsciously looked at the tightly shut stone door. The surface of the door shined with light, isolating all prying eyes. After entering the first floor, what Yundai worried about didn't happen. The teacher didn't even glance at her. After instructing her to record the data, he entered his room and didn't come out again. Yundai let out a breath of relief and blushed. She couldn't help but curl her lips. Was this what the teacher meant by participating in the treatment process? She was clearly just helping out. However, this treatment plan clearly had flaws. If the teacher didn't have any other thoughts, then why did he choose her? Could it be that the teacher's strength had reached a level where he could ignore these flaws? Sky Declaring Pavilion's Mid-Morning City Branch Division had hired a total of 7 beast trainers. As new members, they hadn't made enough contributions and hadn't displayed their formidable strength yet. Thus, the treatment they received should be roughly the same. But there was an exception. The scale of Rising Lake Manor was ranked near the top of the Mid-Morning City Branch Division. In terms of living environment and laboratory equipment, they were all top-notch. When the other 6 beast trainers learned that Ningqin had moved in, a thought popped up in their minds. What qualifications did he have? Thus, the newly joined beast trainers had already held 2 private gatherings. But none of them chose to inform Ningqin, so they naturally excluded him from this small circle. Today was the 3rd time that the 6 beast trainers had gathered together. They were here to exchange information and discuss the tasks that were assigned to them by the building. They wanted to do their best to hand in excellent results. Halfway through the gathering, the 6 participating beast trainers had more or less obtained some harvests. They all had smiles on their faces, and the atmosphere was harmonious. Suddenly, one of them said, "I heard that person has already begun treatment today." He didn't name anyone, but everyone knew who he was talking about. Humph! The treatment plan to save the Wonder Beast was proposed by one of his secret disciples. I found it and looked over it. Although it is brilliant, there are also great flaws. A beast trainer with a round face, small eyes, and wrinkles all over his face sneered. Indeed, there's a huge problem with that proposal. I'm really curious as to what Ningqin relied on to make such a choice, Liu Yishan said slowly. The 3rd beast trainer smiled and said, "I have a rumor here. It is said that Ningqin's secret disciple is a very beautiful woman." There was a burst of tacit laughter, but the laughter was filled with ridicule. The first mission that Sky Declaring Pavilion had given them was the key to establishing a good first impression. For them to abandon it for the sake of a woman was simply foolish. Once the mission period ends, if he can't produce a satisfactory result, I want to see if he still has the face to continue living in Rising Lake. The Lawmark Beast trainer mocked. That's right. After the mission is over, we'll request the building to publicly announce the final results. Rising Lake. Even if someone were to give it to you, it should only be given to the strongest person between us. But there was one person who didn't speak. He swept his eyes over the beast trainer beside him, his eyes cold. Stupid? You guys are the ones who have eyes, but fail to see. The real idiots. If he could get that woman. So what if he failed the mission? It seemed that Ningqin must have sent something. Damn it. If he hadn't been rejected, then this woman would already be his. Luckily, Yin Dai's bloodline hadn't fully awakened yet. Since Ningqin knew this, he wouldn't do anything in order to obtain the best results. He still had a chance. Brother Shah, what are you thinking about? Why are you so lost in thought? A beast trainer asked. Shah Yoha looked up, a smile on his face. It's nothing. I'm just thinking about the next mission and trying to do a better job. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. In order to avoid drawing attention to himself, he didn't plan on exposing his strength too early. But now he couldn't care about anything else. In this mission, he had to amaze everyone with a single brilliant feat. Only then would he have a chance to openly take away Yundai. That woman was his. 4 days passed. On the first underground floor, Yin Dai stared at the data in her hands, her eyebrows subconsciously furrowed. There was something wrong with the Wonder Beast data. There were several key values that had large fluctuations. She couldn't determine what this meant, but without a doubt, there was a problem. But her teacher still hadn't come out. If it weren't for the array formation in the laboratory being normal, she would have already knocked on his door. Suddenly, a sharp alarm sounded out. Yin Dai stood up and looked at the Wonder Beast imprisoned in the array formation. On the white paper that recorded the data, the lines fluctuated like raging waves. The Wonder Beast's body twitched, and its calculated life aura rapidly decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye. Yin Dai paled. The Wonder Beast's condition was clearly stable, so how could it suddenly deteriorate? If it really died, then her teacher's mission would naturally fail. As the secret disciple responsible for recording the data, she would inevitably have to bear a great responsibility. Looking at the laboratory door that was still tightly shut, Yin Dai didn't have time to think too much. She pressed down on the communication button on the experimental platform. Do. A busy tone sounded out from the receiver, but Yin Dai wasn't able to hear the sound of it being lifted up. She couldn't wait any longer. She placed the receiver to the side and chose to replay it. Then, Yin Dai stood up and walked towards the cage that imprisoned the Wonder Beast. She had to try and do something to save the Wonder Beast's life and also save her own destiny. Suddenly, the Wonder Beast's twitching body calmed down. It opened its eyes, revealing two eyes like silver moons. They coldly and indifferently looked at Yin Dai. Yin Dai stiffened and her breathing stopped. Her heart seemed to be grasped by an invisible hand, fiercely shrinking into a ball. This is bad. She moved her feet, wanting to retreat. But in the next moment, the world in front of her suddenly lost its luster. Everything dimmed and dissipated, leaving behind only those silver moon-like eyes. They constantly enlarged until they occupied her entire field of vision. Open the cage. An indifferent fluctuation of consciousness sounded out in Yin Dai's mind. It was like a god from the heavenly palace, carrying with it an unquestionable dignity. No. Yin Dai's consciousness crazily struggled, but she had lost control of her body. She could only watch as she walked forward step by step. She arrived at the side of the cage and cut off the energy supply from the array formation. The shining lines of the array formation rapidly dimmed and finally extinguished. Yin Dai's consciousness fell into despair. The Wonder Beast in the cage obtained its freedom. Its appearance was very comical. Beneath its massive head were four thin limbs. Every step it took was very careful, as if it were afraid that it would be crushed by the heavy head. But even though it walked slowly, it still quickly crossed the several meters. The Wonder Beast lowered its head, its indifferent eyes covering Yin Dai. It opened its mouth, and a sharp proboscis, as sharp as a bamboo stick, stretched out. It shined with an icy metallic luster as it stabbed towards her head. Death approached. Yin Dai could even smell the rotting stench it emitted. But she couldn't move at all. She could only helplessly watch as it approached. The proboscis touched her hair. An icy cold sensation spread through her body. In the next moment, it would pierce through her skull and suck out all of her brain. But the expected death didn't arrive. The proboscis on her head began to tremble. Then, Yin Dai was pulled away from her, and the two giant silver moons that filled her vision vanished from sight. Yin Dai's consciousness instantly returned to her body. She gasped for breath, but discovered that she couldn't summon any strength at all. She could only hold onto the arm behind her and lean against his chest. Don't be afraid. It's fine now. A calm voice echoed out. Yin Dai saw her teacher's face. He was also looking down at her. When their eyes met, Yin Dai could feel a trace of apology in his eyes. Before she could discover anything more, Qin Yu helped Yin Dai stand up. I'll drive it back first. He stepped towards the Wonder Beast. Yin Dai's eyes subconsciously widened. Just now, she had fully experienced just how fierce it was. Teacher, before she could speak, Yin Dai's mouth fell open. Her face was stunned. It had a large head and a small body. Its eyes were like silver moons, and it could control its consciousness. This wonder beast that was filled with danger was actually lying on the ground, whimpering. It was afraid of her teacher. Greedy Moon was originally a gentle and kind beast. After it mutated into a wonder beast, its heart had been distorted by the sudden rise in its soul force. It had become cruel and bloodthirsty. It could only rely on spells placed into its soul to forcefully control itself. It simply didn't know what fear was. Moreover, this wonder beast had suffered a backlash, and its savage nature had sharply risen. But what did she see now? This wonder beast was actually sobbing in front of her teacher. In particular, from beginning to end, Yundai hadn't seen what her teacher had done. He had only walked over. How was this possible? Qinyu looked at the wonder beast lying on the ground. His thoughts stirred and blood energy fluctuations spread out from his body. The wonder beast immediately cried out in pain, as if it had been placed in a flame. As he thought, this was because of the ancient bloodline. The skylark that had mutated into a fire phoenix was like this, and the savage wonder beast was also like this. Qinyu was very curious. Just why was this happening? His eyes flashed, and he suppressed these thoughts. Now wasn't the time to delve into this. Qinyu lightly said, "Go back to where you belong." The wonder beast scrambled back to the center of the imprisonment array formation. Qinyu casually activated it, and the array formation lit up once more. He turned and looked at Yundai. "Are you all right?" Yundai, if she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't have believed it. It was fine if he could scare away a savage wonder beast, but he could even directly command it. I'm fine." Yundai's dizzy mind seemed to be torn apart by a bolt of lightning. She recalled some information she had inadvertently seen before. The peak of beast trainers. Because they have tamed trillions of spirit beasts, they are contaminated with their aura and fuse it with themselves, forming an invisible power of control. They naturally deter all spirit beasts in the world, and no one dares to disobey them. Could it be that her teacher was an existence that had stepped onto the transcendent peak of beast trainers? Yundai thought of Mr. Sun Xiangzhang's performance. Perhaps he knew this, so he was so respectful to her teacher. That's right, that must be it. Otherwise, with Mr. Sun's status, why would he take out a treatment plan and allow her teacher to comment on it? Moreover, it could be explained why her teacher chose her treatment plan. This was because with her teacher's strength, there was no need for him to care. There were still many things she couldn't figure out. For instance, with her teacher's strength, why would he hide his identity and join Sky declaring Pavilion in such a low-key manner? But seeing the truth with her own eyes was far more convincing than guesses. Looking at Yundai's shining eyes and her flushed face, it wasn't hard for Qinyu to guess the reason. But since even he couldn't figure it out, he naturally couldn't explain it. I have already prepared the medicine. Feed it to the wonder beast 3 times a day. During this time, do not disturb me. Leaving behind 3 sealed round containers, Qinyu turned and walked back into the laboratory. The door slowly closed, and the isolation array formation activated. "Yes, teacher." Yundai respectfully bowed. She looked at the 3 containers, her eyes solemn and heavy, as if she were on a pilgrimage. Even with her teacher's strength, he still needed 4 days to prepare them. The medicine inside was absolutely the highest level of existence. To a beast trainer apprentice, just looking at this legendary potion was already a great blessing. Much less if she could personally use it, perhaps she could obtain a great harvest from this potion. She took a deep breath and steadied her trembling hands. Then, she carefully picked up a container and opened the seal. Ah! With a loud cry, her eyes widened. She looked at the container and saw a strange and sticky mass. No matter how she looked at it, it seemed as if it had been crudely crushed and mixed together. But just as this thought rose, Yundai suppressed it. How could she dare to have such disrespectful thoughts towards her teacher? Perhaps this was a special tempering method that she had never come into contact with before. In the cage, the incomparably frightened wonder beast suddenly sniffed. Then, it violently stood up and stared straight at Yundai, its silver eyes filled with longing. Roar. With a deep roar, Yin Dai was so frightened that she nearly broke the container. You want this medicine? Looking at the wonder beast, restlessly pacing back and forth, Yin Dai suddenly had an intuition that she might be able to witness a miracle. Holding the container in her hands, she walked towards the cage. The missions that Sky Declaring Pavilion assigned were divided into different deadlines depending on the difficulty: 10 days, half a month, or 1 month. For the newly joined beast trainers, the first mission they received was generally of similar difficulty and was given a half-month limit. Unless they could come up with a result that far surpassed everyone's expectations, no one would truly delay until the deadline. After all, the earlier they completed a mission, the better it would be for them to display their strength. Joining Sky Declaring Pavilion didn't mean that they could sit back and relax. On the contrary, the more outstanding one's performance was, the more resources they could obtain and the chance to reach a higher level. Thus, on the 5th day of the mission, one of the 7 newly joined alchemists had already smoothly completed the mission and received a medium-grade Earth Step mission score. For the Heaven, Earth, and Mortal levels, a medium-grade Earth Step mission score was already a very high evaluation. This meant that after completing the basic mission, one would have an even more outstanding performance. On the 6th day, 2 people completed their missions, and on the 7th day, 2 more people completed their missions. The lowest evaluation was still a high-grade human step. It could be said that their strength was outstanding. Many veteran beast trainers sighed inwardly. From the 8th day onwards, there were only 2 people who hadn't handed in their missions: Ning Qin and Shao Yoha. Because of the outstanding performance of the 5 beast trainers who joined at the same time, the results of these 2 people were the focus of attention. It was indeed strong to be the first to complete a mission, but everyone knew that since they dared to give up their advantage in time, they must be confident in the final result. Among them, Shao Yoha wasn't too conspicuous. Most of the gazes fell on Rising Lake on the quiet laboratory building. The reason was simple. It wasn't just the 6 new beast trainers that were dissatisfied with Qin Yu moving into Rising Lake Manor. Everyone wanted to know just how much weight he had. Besides the elder senior apprentice brother who had been sent out by the teacher and Yun Dai who had entered the first floor of the laboratory building, the other secret disciples were all gathered together. After becoming a secret disciple, when they didn't have a mission, they could flip through basic ancient texts and do some experiments that they had the ability to complete. The materials they used would be reimbursed by the laboratory. This was the reason why they longed to become a secret disciple of a beast trainer. Otherwise, even if they bought basic ancient texts, they still wouldn't be able to become a true beast trainer without a massive number of experiments. Currently, the public laboratory on the 2nd floor was quiet. The secret disciples were each minding their own business. Although it seemed calm, it was actually filled with an oppressive atmosphere. Pa! The crystal tube fell to the ground and shattered to pieces. Yin Jiao took a deep breath and looked up to meet everyone's eyes. Do you think there will be any problems with teacher? As their teacher's disciples, they could certainly feel the turbulent undercurrents beneath the calm surface. By becoming a secret disciple, they could obtain benefits, but they also had to bear the corresponding price. They were already one with their teacher. If things didn't go smoothly for their teacher, their future road would surely be bumpy. Yin Jiao, what do you mean? Li Hao was expressionless. No matter what rumors you hear outside, I have absolute confidence in teacher. That's right, teacher can absolutely complete the treatment. He hasn't come out yet. Perhaps he wants to obtain a better treatment result. Yes, that must be it. Everyone began to speak up. But contrary to their firm tones, they all had complex expressions on their faces. Yin Dai's treatment plan was flawed. This was an indisputable fact. Could it be that the rumors were true? Was it because he lusted after her beauty? Sun Xiangzhang completed a highly difficult experiment, and the results were within the range of his predictions. He was tired, but also relaxed. He walked out of the laboratory and sat down on a sofa. He leaned back and closed his eyes to rest. Tell me what happened these past days. Yes, teacher. The disciple was well aware of his habits. Without any hesitation, He recounted everything that had happened recently. As expected, when the 7 new beast trainers were mentioned, the teacher's fingers that were tapping the sofa paused. This was a sign of his concern. Louis Shan, Yi Fei Hua, and the other 6 beast trainers have successfully completed their tasks. The highest evaluation is medium-grade Earth level, and the lowest is high-grade human level. The only ones that have yet to submit their tasks are Ning Qin and Sha Yoha. Shua. Sun Xiangzhong opened his eyes, surprise on his face. Mr. Ning Qin hasn't finished yet? With the Grandmaster's strength, although treating a wonder beast was complicated, it shouldn't be too difficult. He should be able to complete it in 3 days. He feared that the greatest possibility was that there were flaws in the treatment plan to begin with. It would be extremely difficult to achieve the desired results. Yes, teacher. The disciple didn't understand why Sun Xiangzhong valued Ning Qin so much. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Right now, many people are waiting for the final result." He didn't speak too clearly, but Sun Xiangzhong already understood. He sneered. All day long they're scheming against each other. If they have the time and effort, they might as well do more experiments and improve their own strength. He thought for a moment. Send someone to pay attention to this matter. Once Mr. Ning Qin submits his task, immediately inform me. With the Grandmaster's strength, he should be able to complete the mission. But there were flaws in the treatment plan, and the final result shouldn't be too good. Chapter 700. Deep in the jungle, the laboratory building stood alone. Because of its remote location, it had been a long time since any beast trainer was willing to stay here. But this just happened to meet Sha Liuhe's needs. Thus, when the Internal Affairs Division cultivator asked him about it, he looked at the topographic map and agreed. All 3 levels of the laboratory building's array formations activated, isolating this place from the outside world. Sha Liuhe sat down cross-legged, his hands crossed in front of his chest, palms facing each other. 2 rays of light, black and red, flowed out from his palm and intertwined with each other. Then, the phantom of a 3-legged cauldron appeared. Although it was blurry and only the size of a palm, the phantom of this 3-legged cauldron gave off an extremely terrifying feeling. As one looked at it, mournful wails rang out in one's mind, as if a trillion souls were being suppressed within. Suddenly, Sha Liuhe's body trembled and his face twisted in pain. All the blood vessels in his body swelled up, and a blue color appeared. Beneath this blue color, visible strands of scarlet blood rapidly gathered in his hands and sank into the 3-legged furnace. At the same time, Sha Liuhe's face was deathly pale, without the slightest hint of blood. He looked like a corpse buried deep underground. After several breaths of time, with a dull bang, the 3-legged furnace popped like a bubble and dissipated in the air. A deep green pill appeared and was grasped by Sha Liuhe. He gasped for breath for a long time before barely managing to calm himself down. My soul has become even weaker. I can only supplement it with blood vitality. But this mortal body won't be able to last much longer. I have to obtain Yin Dai as soon as possible. Sha Liuhe lifted a hand and closed the array formation. He called over a female secret disciple. Without waiting for her to speak, he pointed a finger and the woman fell to the ground. Sha Liuhe casually took off his clothes and expressionlessly walked towards the unconscious disciple. Throughout the entire process, his expression didn't change in the slightest. But as he moved, his complexion gradually regained its rosy color and his extremely weak aura stabilized. When Sha Liuhe walked out of the laboratory, he had returned to his normal appearance. However, the unconscious female disciple's white and tender body had become dark and gloomy. Fine wrinkles crawled up her face. This day was the 14th day, the second to last day of the new beast trainer's mission. Not long after Sha Liuhe entered the Internal Affairs Division, astonishing news spread through the entirety of Sky declaring Pavilion at a terrifying speed. Sha Liuhe mission completed. Score, mid-grade heaven step. According to the grading system of heaven, earth, and human level. The human level was qualified, the earth level was excellent, and the heaven level meant that it had surpassed the task itself and helped the spirit beast achieve a fundamental breakthrough. In terms of the difficulty of this mission, this medium-grade heaven step evaluation was extremely valuable. It instantly covered Sha Lioha in a radiant light. This originally unremarkable and ordinary beast trainer had suddenly become the most dazzling star of the current era. It was said that this matter had already been reported to headquarters. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before they would have to respectfully call Sha Lioha Grandmaster. Bian Chongli, the director of the Internal Affairs Department, smiled. His wrinkles were stretched out like a daisy. Mr. Shah, you've really broadened our horizons. Although there are no written rules in the building, according to the convention, the one with the highest score in the first mission will be rewarded with a very precious reward. With a Heaven Realm middle rank score, there is no doubt that Mr. Shah will be the champion. I congratulate you in advance. I wish you a bright future and the title of Master as soon as possible. Sky Declaring Pavilion's mission scoring system had strict rules. Bian Chongli was certain that the strength Sha Lioha displayed in this mission had already reached the high Silver Moon realm. This was a true Grandmaster level character. Looking at the entire Sky Declaring Pavilion, there were less than 5 of them. He was a true peak character, so Bian Chongli had to be careful and flatter him. Sha Lioha stood in the midst of the crowd. He calmly smiled and humbly said, I appreciate Director Bian's good intentions, but the mission period hasn't ended yet, and there are still unknown variables. It isn't appropriate to say these things now. There wasn't a problem with these words, but those present weren't idiots. They could naturally sense the meaning behind his words. Although the mission period hadn't ended, there was only one person left, that Mr. Ning Qin of Rising Lake. It seemed that Mr. Shah was dissatisfied with him settling in Rising Lake. Bian Chongli wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. When we first allocated the residences of the various Grandmasters, we also obeyed orders from above. But our Sky Declaring Pavilion has always placed strength above all else. I believe that after this mission ends, we will seriously consider arranging a new residence for Mr. Shah. As for Ning Qin settling in Rising Lake, it was indeed an order from above. He didn't dare to be concerned by a Grandmaster-level character. As for other hints, he didn't speak carelessly. These were the rules of Sky Declaring Pavilion to begin with. The strong enjoyed the best treatment. If Ning Qin's performance in this mission wasn't enough to convince everyone, then he wouldn't have the qualifications to continue staying in Rising Lake Manor. Sha Lioha smiled. Let's not talk about this. There is still one more day until the mission ends. Perhaps Mr. Ning Qin will be able to hand over an even better answer tomorrow. Let's wait for the dust to settle before discussing these things. He cupped his hands together. In order to complete this mission, I have consumed a great deal of mental strength. I will go back and rest first. Everyone, farewell. Mr. Shah, take care. Everyone smiled flatteringly. Stepping out of the Internal Affairs Division, Sha Lioha looked up at the sky, and his lips curled up. He had already expressed his attitude. After tomorrow, Sky Declaring Pavilion would definitely give him an explanation. As for Ning Qin's performance, was there even a need to pay attention to it? Once he was driven out of Rising Lake, he would only need to use a few methods to make Yun Dai obediently listen to him. Rising Lake Laboratory Building, first floor. Yun Dai looked at the tightly shut doors of the laboratory, a look of hesitation on her face. She didn't know what her teacher was doing, so she didn't dare to disturb him. If today wasn't the deadline, then Yun Dai wouldn't have any problems even if she had to wait another month. After all, with her teacher status, she had no idea just how great of a blessing it was for her to be able to follow by his side. Yun Dai glanced at the timer. It was already past noon. She took a deep breath and carefully pressed down on the communication device. She couldn't just stare blankly on as her teacher's first mission ended on time. Although she believed that as long as one looked at the answer sheet that her teacher handed over, no one would care about something as trivial as being late. Do. The receiver buzzed several times before it was lifted up. Her teacher's calm voice sounded out. What is it? His light voice was filled with a dignified feeling in Yun Dai's ears. She subconsciously stood up and respectfully said, "Teacher, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have disturbed you, but today is the last day of the mission." There was a brief silence on the other side. Then there was a whisper, "It's already been half a month. Time really passes by quickly, I understand." The call was hung up. Yin Dai put down the receiver, her face filled with admiration. Even someone as powerful as her teacher was so diligent and didn't relax in the slightest. It was no wonder he had his current achievements. She suddenly realized that even if she was just a bystander in this mission from beginning to end, just this discovery was enough for her to enjoy for the rest of her life. No one's success came easily. Thus, towards her teacher, Yin Dai felt even more respect. Soon, the supporting array formation on the laboratory door was extinguished. Qin stepped out and said, "Yin Dai, according to the rules of Sky Declaring Pavilion, can you hand over the mission for me?" Yin Dai was stunned for a moment before she immediately responded. That was right. With teacher status, how could he care about a mere reputation? Even if this was an incomparably glorious moment in her eyes, it wasn't anything at all in her teacher's eyes. Yin Dai respectfully bowed. "Teacher, according to the rules of Sky Declaring Pavilion, I am only your secret disciple. I don't have the qualifications to replace you." Qin Yu frowned. His mortal body had reached a critical moment of recovery, and he didn't want to waste even a single minute. And if it's an official disciple? Yin Dai's heart suddenly raced. Her face flushed red, and she felt dizzy. If it's your official disciple, then that is possible. Teacher's meaning was that he wanted me to become his official disciple. How is that possible? I simply don't have the qualifications. Yin Dai stammered. She felt as if her entire body was suspended in midair, as if she were floating in the air, unable to withstand any force. Qin Yu nodded. "Good. From now on, you are my official disciple." He turned and looked at the strange beast whose appearance had changed. He frowned, but according to the aura, this should be a good thing. "She is my disciple. Follow her and don't cause any trouble." He turned and left. Bang! It wasn't until the doors to the laboratory closed and the runes of the array formation lit up that Yin Dai regained her composure. She felt her legs go soft, and she leaned against the laboratory table, not falling over. Then she giggled for a long time. At this moment, she really felt as if a giant pie from the heavens had smashed in her head. So big, so delicious. I am teacher's disciple, a true disciple. Yin Dai's eyes brightened. She suddenly felt that her dark and gloomy life was suddenly filled with light. All of her trials and tribulations would vanish without a trace. Looking at the strange beast in the array formation, Yin Dai's eyes were light, without the slightest bit of awe, because right now, she was teacher's disciple. Closing the array formation, Yin Dai reached out a hand. "Strange beast, come with me." On the last day of the mission, because of Sha Liuha's vague statement, nearly all eyes of the Mid-Morning City Branch Division were focused on Rising Lake. The secret disciples that were trying their best to remain calm could no longer stay in the laboratory. They gathered at the exit of the underground level, nervous and expectant. Starting from the morning, the sun slowly climbed up into the sky. Then, it followed a fixed trajectory and began to set in the west. The entrance door was tightly shut, and there was no movement at all. The faces of the secret disciples gradually paled. Was it really as those people outside said? Teacher had already failed his mission. The reason he hadn't appeared yet was because he didn't want to face everyone's ridiculing gazes, although they didn't want to believe it. The truth seemed to be right in front of them. The secret disciples began to shiver, their eyes filled with despair and resentment. This matter was no longer a simple mission failure. Once teacher was stepped on, it would be impossible for him to have a chance to rise back up. As for them, they would be buried with him. They were doomed to achieve nothing in their lives. For the sake of a woman, he lusted after her beauty and placed himself in a hopeless situation. Even they were implicated. Why did they have such a teacher? Li Hao's complexion was deathly pale. He lowered his head so that no one could see his gloomy eyes. Suddenly, he grit his teeth. He had made a decision in his heart. Teacher had already offended too many people. After being stepped on this time, no one would give him another chance to rise back up. He had an outstanding talent as a beast trainer and was destined to have great achievements in the future. He could not fall into the abyss with Ning Qin. Looking up at the tightly shut entrance to the first level, Li Hao roared out loud. You still haven't woken up? Teacher has already given up on the mission, and he has even given up on us. Everyone was startled. Their eyes widened as they looked at him, their faces filled with shock. Li Hao lifted a hand and pointed. Look clearly. Beneath this laboratory building, our teacher, who is filled with hope and confidence, is drowning in beauty. He has never thought about what sort of fate we will face because of this. He is a true beast trainer. Even if he loses everything in Sky Declaring Pavilion, he can still leave and start new. But what about us? We will be delayed for the rest of our lives. Such an irresponsible person is not worthy of being our teacher. I have already asked a true beast trainer to come to an agreement with Rising Lake. As long as we voluntarily give up our current identities, we can sever all ties with Rising Lake and become that Mister's disciple. Then, everything can start anew. Now, I want to ask you, who is willing to leave with me? Yin Jiao shivered. She screamed, Li Hao, what nonsense are you speaking? You dare to slander teacher. Li Hao was expressionless. What I am saying is the truth. It was teacher who gave up on us first. He swept his eyes over everyone. Is there no one willing to leave with me? Think about it carefully. Do you want to stay here and sink into oblivion, or do you want to obtain a new life? In the silence, some people began to waver. The first to walk towards Li Hao was a female secret disciple. Her name was Rao Shaoling. She lowered her head, avoiding the incredulous gazes around her. She stood beside Li Hao and said, I wasn't wrong. The one who was wrong was teacher. So, this cannot be blamed on me. Then came the second and third. Their faces were filled with shame and embarrassment. But as they stood behind Li Hao, they were secretly happy and relaxed. What are you all doing? An icy voice suddenly sounded out. At some unknown time, the entrance to the first level had opened. Yin Dai icily looked at everyone. Yin Jiao was overjoyed. Big sister Yin Dai, Li Hao, and the others are slandering teacher because of his relationship with you. They said that teacher has already failed his mission. In order to not be dragged down by teacher, they want to sever all ties with Rising Lake. Yin Dai's eyes turned even colder. Li Hao, is that true? He didn't know why, but as her eyes shrouded him, Li Hao felt a great pressure. But there was no turning back. With things having come to this point, there was no turning back. Li Hao sneered and said, That's right. That's exactly what happened. I'll ask you one last time. Who else is willing to leave with me? Otherwise, don't regret it. Yin Dai nodded. Indeed, you all need to think about it clearly. Don't let yourself regret it. She swept her eyes over Yin Jiao and the other secret disciples. Now tell me, will you stay or will you leave? Yin Jiao didn't hesitate. Big sister Yin Dai, I will stay. It was difficult to trust a teacher that she didn't have much contact with. But she trusted Yin Dai. The gray-haired youth smiled. I will stay. The stance of these two people affected the attitudes of everyone else. After a brief moment of hesitation, no one chose to leave. Li Hao sneered. I've already given you a chance. Since you can't grasp it, don't blame me for not reminding you when you cry in the future. He turned around. Let's go. We're going to find Lu Cheng and explain our relationship with Rising Lake. Yin Dai said, wait. Li Hao's lips curved up. What? You want to convince me to stay? Don't dream on. Yin Dai looked at him with pride in her eyes. Today, I will officially announce on behalf of teacher that Li Hao, Rao Shaoling, and the others will be expelled from Rising Lake. She lifted a hand and pointed. You can leave now. If we meet again in the future, you and I will be enemies. How insolent! Li Hao was enraged. Yin Dai, who do you think you are that you dare to expel us? Yin Dai had a calm expression. I am already teacher's true disciple, so I naturally have the qualifications to handle matters on teacher's behalf. You're no longer people of Rising Lake. If you don't leave, then don't blame me for being impolite. You? Li Hao's complexion paled. He clenched his teeth for a long time. Good, good. Yindai, just wait for me. He flicked his sleeves and left. Rao Shaoling and the others had panicked expressions. Voluntarily severing their relationship and being expelled were two completely different matters. Once they carried this infamy, it would be impossible to wash it away in this life. But they had already made their choice. They could only leave in a daze. Yin Jiao's eyes widened. Big sister Yindai, you really became an official disciple? Her eyes flashed, and her complexion stiffened. Could it be that the rumors outside were true? Yindai already had an ambiguous relationship with teacher. Otherwise, how could she suddenly become an official disciple? Yindai lifted a hand and knocked her. Shut up. What nonsense are you thinking about? You're not allowed to be disrespectful to teacher. I was just lucky enough to be accepted as a disciple by teacher. She swept her eyes over the several people that remained. In the future, you will all be thankful for the choice you made today. After exchanging several words with these people and understanding the current situation, Yundai's complexion turned icy cold. She sneered. If they wanted to see my teacher make a joke of himself, then these lowly people weren't worthy. She ordered several people to stay in Rising Lake and then turned to leave. Yin Jiao shouted out, Big sister Yindai, what you go to do? Yindai didn't look back. I'm handing in a mission on teacher's behalf. She suddenly thought of her teacher, who didn't care about this at all. Her eyes filled with a deep respect once more. Compared to teacher, these people were nothing but dancing clowns. How could a sparrow and swallow understand the ambitions of a swan? Although teacher didn't care about this little bit of glory or even their slander, as teacher's disciple, she had to maintain teacher's dignity. She didn't mind ruthlessly slapping these people's faces so that they would always remember that as they walked the world, they had to maintain a humble and respectful heart. So, when Yundai arrived at the Internal Affairs Division under the many strange gazes, the flames in her heart were already blazing. Although she looked like a secret disciple, Yundai's current aura was far too strong. The Internal Affairs Division cultivators didn't dare to be careless. Someone stepped forwards and asked, Miss, may I ask what business you have? Yindai was expressionless. I am here to submit a mission on behalf of teacher. Sky Declaring Pavilion had many beast trainers and there were new missions every day. Submitting a mission was a normal matter. The Internal Affairs Division cultivators didn't think too much about it. Instead, their attitude towards Yundai became increasingly gentle. They really didn't expect that this beautiful young lady was already a disciple that had been truly recognized. Of course. May I ask who Miss Teacher is? Rising Lake, Mr. Ning Qin. The surroundings fell silent. Everyone in the Internal Affairs Division looked over. As they looked at the incomparably beautiful Yundai, their complexions gradually became strange. Could it be that the rumored female secret disciple was her? She was truly dazzling. It was no wonder a true beast trainer had fallen head over heels for her. No, that wasn't right. She was already a true disciple that had been recognized. If someone said there wasn't something fishy going on here, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. The Internal Affairs Division cultivator was stunned. His eyes turned cold, as if he were feeling pity. Yindai, I am. The person nodded. Please follow me. The two of them passed through the front hall of the Internal Affairs Division and headed towards the Mission Evaluation Department. At noon on the last day of the half-month deadline, Rising Lake's Yundai had come to submit a mission on behalf of Teacher Ningqin. The evaluation had already begun. This news was no weaker than the uproar caused by Sha Liuha yesterday. It rapidly spread through the entirety of Sky Declaring Pavilion. Even the various great influences in Mid-Morning City were paying attention to this matter because of Sha Liuha's amazing performance. In a desolate forest laboratory building, Sha Liuha laid down the jade slip in his hands, a mocking smile on his face. He originally thought that this Ningqin would be a turtle hiding in its shell, but he never imagined that he would submit a mission on the last day. Did he send Yindai to submit a mission because he feared that he would be ridiculed by everyone and lose all face? Thinking about it, Shalyoha stood up. With his current status, he shouldn't show too much concern for this matter, as it would be beneath his status. But he had to confirm whether or not Yundai was still a virgin. This was an extremely important matter, and he couldn't allow any accidents to occur. Ningqin, you had best not touch a single finger of hers. Otherwise, I swear that I will make you beg for death. Mr. Ningqin submitted a mission. Sun Xiangzhong revealed a gratified expression. He knew that with the Grandmaster's strength, he wouldn't disappoint anyone. Even if the result wasn't good, he would still be able to complete it. The disciple shook his head. Teacher, the one who went to the Internal Affairs Division is Mr. Ningqin's disciple. Her name is Yundai. The disciple hesitated, a strange expression on his face. The outside world was already filled with rumors. A new secret disciple had immediately become a true disciple after the two of them spent half a month together. This clearly indicated that there was a problem. Sun Xiangzhong frowned. He had already grasped the crux of the matter. Could the rumors be true? This caused his impression of Grandmaster Ningqin to drop a little. Sun Xiangzhong let out a light breath and stood up. Let's go. Follow me to the Internal Affairs Division. The disciple revealed a puzzled expression. Teacher, do you still want to explain things for Mr. Ningqin? Sun Xiangzhong paused for a moment. He continued to say, I just don't believe in these speculations as for what the truth is. I will personally confirm it. Ningqin has submitted a mission. The one going to the Internal Affairs Division is that female disciple that he's so obsessed with. I heard she is as beautiful as a fairy. He's already accepted her as a true disciple. Ignoring everything else, this Ningqin can be considered a hoodlum. Everything is laid out in the open, and he isn't afraid of others talking about him at all. Humph. Let's see if he has any face left to continue staying in Rising Lake. Let's go to the Internal Affairs Division and watch the fun. The newly joined beast trainers hung up their communications and hurried to the Internal Affairs Division. There were many similar events occurring. For a time, Sky Declaring Pavilion's Internal Affairs Division became incomparably lively. Mr. Zhang, you also came? Since so many people have gathered here today, I also wanted to join in on the fun. Ha ha ha, Brother Su, you've come. I definitely can't miss out on such a wonderful show. Many beast trainers greeted those they were familiar with. They were usually busy with their experiments and rarely had a gathering like this. For a time, everyone was chatting happily. The people of the Internal Affairs Division didn't dare to tire out the beast trainers. They hurriedly brought over tables and chairs and offered refreshments for fear of offending anyone. Of all of them, the area where Shal Yoha was located was naturally the most lively. Almost all the beast trainers stepped forward to greet him, smiling and complimenting him. Shal Yoha responded, but he couldn't help but look towards the passageway leading to the Internal Affairs Division. Calculating the time, the grading should be over. He didn't care about the result. He only wanted to determine whether or not Yundai was still a virgin. Jiang Yun had an excited expression. He looked at the grading in his hands. The several old judges also blushed red and their fingers trembled. After a long time, Jiang Yun let out a long breath. He carefully placed the jade slip on the table, as if he were holding some rare treasure. For the Mid-Morning City Branch Division to obtain Mr. Ningqin's favor, it is truly the fortune of the heavens. The chief judge's voice trembled. Mr. Ningqin's strength is far beyond what we mortals can imagine. I fear he has already broken through the shackles and stepped into the great solar realm. Grandmaster, this is the rank of a Grandmaster. The several judges nodded again and again. They had served Sky Declaring Pavilion their entire lives and had seen many outstanding characters. But this was the first time they had seen someone as brilliant as this. Not only had the Wonder Beast fully recovered from its injuries, but it had also undergone another mutation. Not only did its cruel and ruthless nature disappear, but its soul force had risen by 3 times, and it now possessed a dexterous movement ability as well as a decent melee strength. Strictly speaking, it was no longer a Wonder Beast, but a completely new species. and creating a new species was the highest temple of honor for a beast trainer to begin with. Only the highest peak existences had this sort of strength. Yin Dai placed her hands on her lap and leaned back in her comfortable chair. She looked at the excited Jiang Yiyun and the other judges, her eyes filled with pride. Cough. Jiang Yiyun lightly coughed. He faced the judges and slowly said, "The truth is that when Mr. Ning Qin joined Sky Declaring Pavilion in the final selection, he had already displayed extraordinary strength. It was me who ordered this matter to be sealed up so that the outside world didn't know of it. Judges, you should know that the Great Beast Trainer Tournament will soon begin. All influences in the entire eastern region will participate and compete for a chance to enter the land bestowed by the heavens. Without a doubt, Mr. Ning Qin is our mid-morning city branch division's greatest opportunity. He might even be able to represent Sky Declaring Pavilion in battle. In order to prevent any accidents from occurring before then, I implore you all to conceal this matter for the time being." The chief judge frowned. How can this be? A Grandmaster level existence must obtain the status and respect they deserve. Not even the slightest bit of blasphemy is permitted. Right now, there are all sorts of rumors going around, and they have already severely damaged Grandmaster Ning Qin's reputation. We must quell this as soon as possible. Jiang Yun opened his mouth. The judges were completely independent, and they obeyed the direct orders of the Pavilion Master. He simply didn't have the authority to control them. If they insisted on publicizing this matter, then Jiang Yun could only compromise. Yin Dai's eyes flashed. She suddenly said, "Steward Jiang and the esteemed judges, could you please listen to me speak?" The chief judge's old-fashioned face revealed a smile. "Miss Yin Dai, please speak." The status of a Grandmaster's disciple was enough to change his attitude. Yin Dai realized this, and her expression became even calmer. "Very well, then I will boldly say a few words. I will listen to your consideration." She hesitated for a moment and continued to say, "Teacher is someone who focuses on cultivation. He is low-key and doesn't like to attract attention. For instance, the mission that he handed over today was handed over to me. He himself is still in his laboratory. So, although teacher hasn't stated it explicitly, I believe that he doesn't want to be exposed to the eyes of the public. I hope that the judges can consider my teacher's wishes." The judges all had dignified expressions. They could ignore Jiang Yiyun's request, but the wishes of a Grandmaster should be respected. After some quiet discussion, the chief judge said, "If that's the case, then we won't announce Grandmaster Ning Qin's information for the time being. But we must report this matter to the Pavilion Master with Grandmaster Ning Qin's strength. He should be valued and rewarded by the Pavilion Master." Yin Dai bowed, no longer speaking. Jiang Yiyun smiled and nodded. "That is natural. As for Grandmaster Ning Qin's existence, I have already reported it to the Pavilion Master after the final trial. Then, let us consider how to cover up this matter. The true evaluation results definitely couldn't be publicly announced. They needed the judges to redo it." Yin Dai's lips curved up in a smile. Even if she had to conceal her teacher's identity, the judges wouldn't allow her to have a result lower than anyone else's. Chapter 701. The room was deathly silent. Li Hao, Rao Shaoling, and the others were pale, their eyes filled with uncontrollable fear. Yin Dai had gone to the Internal Affairs Division to hand over the mission on behalf of her teacher. The news had already spread far and wide, so they naturally knew about it. Why was this happening? Didn't they say that the mission had failed? If their teacher successfully completed the mission, then they would be laughed at by everyone. They would forever be branded with the crime of betraying their teacher, never to be cleared. "Li Hao, you lied to us. Teacher has clearly completed the mission." The young man on the left gritted his teeth, his tone filled with resentment. "I didn't dare to betray teacher, but it's all your fault. You bewitched me. What should I do now? We're finished, we're all finished." Another youth roared. Rao Shaoling didn't say anything. She just sat there blankly, like a shell that had lost its soul. Li Hao was distraught. "Shut up. We have already left Rising Lake. Ning Qin is no longer our teacher. Taking a deep breath, he pressed his hands on the table. So what if we complete the task on time? There are flaws in his treatment plan, so the results are destined to be greatly affected. Do you really think that Ning Qin can produce an answer that can compare with Mr. Shah? Seeing that the trio's expressions had eased a little, Li Hao said in a deep voice, "It doesn't matter whether Ning Qin completes the mission or not. He's destined to be crushed by Mr. Shah and stomped into the ground, never to rise again. Yun Dai and the others will be suppressed along with him, and we will become Mr. Shah's honorary disciples. There's no need for me to explain Mr. Shah's strength. He's a grandmaster. Even though I'm only his disciple in name, my status is incomparably honorable. Believe me, your choice was not wrong. None of us were wrong." The sun began to set in the west. The light of the setting sun shone through the windows and into the main hall of the Internal Affairs Division. The beast trainers sitting in their chairs had already finished their discussions. Their eyebrows were furrowed with impatience. Everyone's time was precious. They put down their work and came to watch the show, but they didn't expect to waste the entire afternoon. Even when Shalyoa handed in his mission yesterday, the jury had only spent a quarter hour to give a final evaluation. Could Ning Qin's mission result be more complex than Shalyoa's? What a joke. Many people's gazes converged on him. Under the current circumstances, it seemed that only he had the qualifications to speak up. Shalyoa opened his eyes and let out a light breath. He stood up and walked towards the counter. "Mr. Shah, what can I do for you?" Shalyoa smiled. "I'm just curious. Will the jury announce Mr. Ning Qin's mission evaluation results?" "You should know that if Mr. Ning Qin's performance is inferior to mine, I will receive a reward from the tower. So, if possible, please help me ask around." "Ah, so it's like that." The Internal Affairs Division cultivator had an awkward expression. Across from him, Shalyoa was still smiling, but he was gradually emitting an oppressive aura, causing the Internal Affairs Division cultivator to sweat profusely. "Ignorant fool! How dare you disrespect Mr. Shah? Your punishment is to face the wall for a month." Scram! Bien Changli came over with a face full of smiles. Although the jury is part of the Internal Affairs Division, their status is extremely high. We don't have any jurisdiction over them, but since it is Mr. Shah's idea, we will naturally follow it. Please wait a moment. I will immediately send someone over. Shalyoa smiled and nodded. "I'll have to trouble Director Bien. You're exaggerating. You're exaggerating." Bien Changli turned and said, "Go and ask the panel of judges if they have any results regarding Mr. Ning Qin's task." An Internal Affairs Division cultivator nodded and hurried away. But before Bien Changli could say any more flattering words, the Internal Affairs Division cultivator returned. Bien Changli frowned and was about to shout something when he suddenly saw the silver-haired old man behind him. He apologized to Shalyoa and hurriedly bowed. "Lord Steward, why have you come?" He glanced at Yun Dai from the corner of his eyes. She had a light expression, but there was a bit of arrogance between her eyebrows. This expression wasn't right. Could it be that the task Ning Qin handed over had a good evaluation? Jiang Yu nodded. "There are some matters that need to be handled." Then he continued to ask, "Was it you who sent someone to inquire about the evaluation results?" Bien Changli's heart tightened. He respectfully said, "Reporting to Steward, it was Mr. Shalyoa who saw that the results hadn't come out yet." Before he finished speaking, his meaning was clear. He had removed himself from the equation and placed himself in a neutral position, completely lacking the fawning he did just now. As an old man with 28 faces, his intuition told him that something was wrong. Something was wrong. Oh, so that's how it is. Jiang Yun looked deeply at Bien Changli. He sighed inwardly at his keen sense of smell. To be able to hold the position of Internal Affairs Division Director for over a decade, he really did have some skills. His eyes swept over Yundai. Looking at her expressionless face, Jiang Yun's eyes flashed. He had already grasped some of her thoughts. Whether it was because the young liked to show off or because she wanted to defend her teacher's dignity, it was clear that she wanted to ruthlessly slap everyone in the face. If it were anyone else, Jiang Yun absolutely wouldn't have interfered in order to avoid offending too many people. But when this matter allowed him to curry favor with a Grand Scholar Realm Master, there was no doubt about his choice. Cough. Jiang Yun lightly coughed, revealing a bit of his cultivation. The lobby of the Internal Affairs Division immediately fell silent. Everyone's eyes gathered on him. Miss Yindai, there have been some rumors spreading like wildfire recently. Can I announce Mr. Ning Qin's mission evaluation results in front of everyone? Since you want to slap faces, then let me play the supporting role so that you can enjoy yourself to your heart's content. The originally quiet lobby became even quieter. Many people frowned. They discovered that today's lively atmosphere was showing signs of deviating from its original trajectory. Xiaoyu's heart skipped a beat. Jiang Yun's current attitude seemed to confirm a guess in his heart that he didn't want to face. His smile faded and a cold and gloomy expression appeared on his face. But soon, he took a deep breath and composed himself. Even if this surname Ning could put out an outstanding answer, it was absolutely impossible for it to compare with his evaluation result of a middle-grade heaven step. It was just the difference between stepping into a quagmire and being kicked to the ground. Even if Ning Qin's face looked better, as long as he didn't let him off, he could still make him lose all face and have him scram out of Rising Lake. At that time, Yin Dai would still be his. Sun Xiangzhong let out a light breath. He said in a soft voice, "It looks like Mr. Ning Qin's mission evaluation is better than we imagined." Zhou Xinhong smiled. Since Mr. Ning Qin has strength, it is reasonable for him to be able to complete the mission. Xiangzhong, it looks like you worry too much. The treatment plan itself was incomplete, and yet he was still able to complete the mission. What if he chose a perfect treatment plan? Su Yuanbai shook his head. Today, I don't believe that Mr. Ning Qin's evaluation result will be higher than Mr. Xiaoyu's. Zhou Xinhong frowned. He looked at Sun Xiangzhong and said, "Perhaps this is Mr. Ning Qin's style. He likes to challenge the difficulty." Su Yuanbai remained expressionless. Sun Xiangzhong forced a smile. "Mr. Zhou, don't worry. I do admire Mr. Ning Qin, but in this matter, he was in the wrong." His expression was solemn. He said in a low voice, "No matter how strong you are, you should treat a mission seriously. This is one of the most basic professional ethics of a beast trainer." These words were heavy. Sun Xiangzhong was silent for a moment. Then, he continued to say, "Misters, if there's a scene of everyone attacking you, I hope that you can explain yourself." Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai nodded. Of course. The truth was that the three of them knew that since Ning Qin's mission evaluation was good, he wouldn't be thrown into the abyss. At most, he would suffer some difficulties. But he had missed out on a chance to enter Sky declaring pavilion and receive attention, as well as possibly a very precious reward. In the end, the losses would be disastrous. Eyes gathered on Yin Dai's face. Her expression was calm and unchanging. She already knew what Jiang Yun was thinking. Help her slap him in the face. If so, then she wouldn't be polite. Yin Dai's eyes were calm as she looked at the beast trainers. After circling around them, she said in a soft voice, "Although my teacher is a low-key person and doesn't like being the center of attention, since so many misters have gathered here, you must be curious about the result in order to not disappoint you. I can only go against teacher's wishes a little. I hope that I won't be punished." Jiang Yun smiled. With Mr. Qin's breadth of mind, I don't think he will make things difficult for Miss Yin Dai because of this. He took out a jade slip and looked at everyone. Concerning Mr. Ning Qin's mission, the jury's final evaluation is here. I ask that you all read it together. A trace of magic power poured into the jade slip. The jade slip shined with a brilliant light, and words began to appear in the air. High-grade heaven step. Schwa, the Internal Affairs Division, was deathly silent. Even the sound of breathing had vanished. This silent silence formed a deep oppressive pressure that fell on everyone's chests, causing their eyes to become dazed. High-grade heaven step, high-grade heaven step, high-grade heaven step. These four simple words were read over and over again, but they still didn't seem to understand them. Impossible! Xiaoyu roared. His complexion was as ugly as if he had swallowed a fly. I absolutely do not believe that Ning Qin can obtain such a result. The silence was broken. The beast trainers regained their composure and frowned. They thought of the treatment plan. There were enormous flaws in it. It was already difficult to achieve the desired treatment effect, much less obtain a legendary high-grade heaven step evaluation. No wonder Shal Yoha had lost his composure like this, looking at his shocked and angry expression. Another thought leapt into everyone's mind. Could there be another reason behind this? Or, to put it more bluntly, the evaluation result in front of them was fake. Ning Qin had joined Sky Declaring Pavilion with everyone else, but he had obtained extra favor and was allowed to live in the top manor, Rising Lake. His treatment far surpassed everyone else's. And today, when he handed in the mission, the Lord Steward of the Mid-Morning City Branch Division had personally appeared to announce the results in front of everyone and restore his reputation. Of course, what was even more important was that Ning Qin had taken a flawed treatment plan. Not only did he complete the mission, but he even obtained a high-grade Heaven Step evaluation result. Combining all of this together, how could they not be suspicious? Just who was Ning Qin? What sort of formidable background did he have? Questioning eyes fell on Jiang Yiyun's face. He clearly knew what the beast trainers were thinking. There was one thing they weren't wrong about, and that was that the announced mission evaluation result was fake. But it was completely different from what everyone thought. With an understanding in his heart, Jiang Yiyun slowly said, Mr. Ning Qin's strength has obtained the unanimous approval of the entire evaluation panel. I also personally participated in the evaluation process, and I can clearly tell everyone that there is no falsehood in the evaluation. He paused for a moment and then raised his tone, his voice resolute and decisive. Thus, I must solemnly remind everyone that rumors will stop at the wise. Mr. Ning Qin's reputation cannot be slandered in the slightest. In the future, I ask everyone to be careful. The questioning eyes revealed clear astonishment. Then they turned dignified. Unless he was crazy, Jiang Yiyun absolutely wouldn't dare to say these words in front of everyone. Otherwise, he would no longer have a place to stand. In other words, the results in front of them were likely true. To take a severely flawed treatment plan and obtain a high-grade Heaven Step mission evaluation result. Just what sort of strength did one need to accomplish this? As the beast trainers thought back to how they were watching a lively show, their faces flushed red. At the same time, they secretly rejoiced that they hadn't revealed their doubts towards Mr. Ning Qin ahead of time. Sun Xiangzhong was stunned where he stood. After an unknown period of time, he let out a light breath. His face was filled with joy, but also a deep sense of shame. So it turned out that he had misunderstood the Grandmaster. It was his low strength that limited his imagination. Amazing, incredible. Zhou Xinhong had an excited expression. Su Yuanbai's lips moved. He dejectedly said, I feel ashamed for my disrespect towards Mr. Ning Qin before. As these voices gathered together, they buzzed in Shal Yoa's ears like 100,000 flies, causing his mind to be in turmoil. He wished he could tear apart their mouths right now. He squeezed out a smile and said, Steward Jiang, did Mr. Ning Qin really not change his treatment plan? Jiang Yun looked at him, a trace of pity in his eyes. Then, he immediately crushed out the last of his hopes. I can confirm that he did not. Shal Yoha's smile stiffened. The corners of his lips twitched. His gloomy face gave off a depressing feeling. At this moment, he thought back to the words he had said yesterday. Director Bien, I appreciate your good intentions, but the mission hasn't ended yet, and there are still unknown variables. It isn't the right time to speak of these things. Let's not talk about it. There is still one more day before the mission ends. Perhaps Mr. Ning Qin will be able to hand in an even better answer tomorrow. Let's wait for the dust to settle before discussing these things. Facing everyone's eyes, Shal Yoha felt as if there were countless slaps dancing in front of him. Golden stars circled around him. Shal Yoha swayed on the verge of collapse. Everyone sighed inwardly. Such a formidable character had actually fallen into such an awkward situation. But Yindai didn't plan on letting him go like this. Her eyes were icy cold as she stepped forwards and lightly said, "Even at this moment, my teacher is still in the laboratory." To him, the high-grade Heaven Step evaluation result and the attention of everyone here is nothing more than trivial matters that aren't enough to affect his cultivation. I don't have any intention of looking down on everyone here. I only wish to convey my teacher's attitude. In this world, the only thing a person can rely on is their own strength. And in this world, there is no such thing as success without reason. One can only work hard, and work even harder. But there are some people who don't understand that jealousy, and exclusion cannot obtain anything. If you have time and energy, it is better to invest it in cultivation. She lifted a hand and pointed a finger. It was like an arrow piercing through the skies. Just like Mr. Shah Lioha in front of me. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.